What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories.
3 Chapter 51 Morgan's Visit, The Temptation of Pure Gold. Advertisement, Waste. With a cold snort, Oaku glanced at the entire audience, extremely dissatisfied with these guys he had just recruited. After all, he is a big pirate, and Whitebeard is afraid of him even before he is in the future. He is really stupid. But he could also see that these guys really didn't dare to face Whitebeard. After all, the gap was so big that it couldn't be changed. Thinking of this, Oaku suppressed the anger in his heart and said, "Just leave the Whitebeard to me. You only need to deal with Marco and other captains. If you can't do such a simple thing, then there is no need for you to live." As soon as these words came out, everyone present breathed a sigh of relief. Including Oaku's vice-captain is no exception. No need to deal with Whitebeard. This is great news for them. As for Marco and other captains, although they are not weak in strength, to be honest, they are really not afraid. No problem, leave Beasta to me, and I will let him know what cruelty is. Leave Josie to me. I want to see if his defense is really invincible. In an instant, Snow Leopard and others spoke one after another. Without any hesitation, they all selected opponents they could deal with. Including Oaku's vice-captain also quietly said at this moment, "I am also the royal mate, leave that Marco guy to me." As his words fell, the previous cadres of the Oaku pirates also spoke. "Don't worry, boss, we will definitely annihilate those guys from the Whitebeard Pirates." "Yes, boss, we will definitely prevent those guys from aiding Whitebeard. We will never let those from the Whitebeard Pirates interfere with the battle between you and Whitebeard, boss." In an instant, the members of the Oaku Pirates, who were originally frightened, became confident. Only Oaku, who was sitting in the main seat, twitched his lips. That is to say, myself. These guys actually agreed without hesitation. Although he was not afraid of letting himself fight Whitebeard alone, he had to admit Whitebeard's strength. But I have already said the cruel words, and it is impossible to take them back at this moment. Good. Taking a deep breath, TNG said solemnly, "Then this matter is settled. Leave Whitebeard to me, and leave the rest of the Whitebeard Pirates to you. I hope you won't disappoint me. This matter allows only success and no failure." "Yes. Yes." Hearing this, all the officers of the Oaku Pirates present responded. As long as they weren't facing off against Whitebeard, they didn't care about anything else. Set off. Seeing this, Oaku didn't waste any time. With a big wave of his hand, he stood up and said, "Get ready to fight." On the other side, the Whitebeard Pirates have arrived in the sea 10 kilometers away from Beehive Island. Seeing the Beehive Island getting closer, the Whitebeard Pirates also received an uninvited guest. "Morgans, what are you doing here?" Looking at the figure falling from the sky, Whitebeard frowned and looked not very good. At the same time, Ron and others also came forward from the side. Their eyes locked on Morgan's, and their expressions were extremely unkind. Especially Ron's eyes were full of doubts and confusion at this moment. Morgan's advertisement, the president of World News Agency and one of the Underground Kings. It can be said that this person's strength may be insufficient, but his power and background are not inferior to any emperor of the sea. The most important thing is that this guy controls the World News Service, which can be said to be in existence that can control public opinion around the world. Even the world government is afraid of him. Now this guy suddenly comes here, even when the Whitebeard Pirates and the Oaku Pirates are about to have a decisive battle. It is not a simple matter no matter how you look at it. Whitebeard, stepping forward, Morgans was extremely elegant at this moment. After bowing to Whitebeard, he then spoke. "I came here to make a deal with you. I want to videotape the entire battle between you and Oaku. As a reward, I can give you some information." Frowning, Whitebeard took a deep look at Morgans and said, "What information? If the value of the information is not enough, then you are not qualified to say such words." It's not just Whitebeard. Ron and others also looked at Morgans curiously at this moment. I don't know what kind of information he holds, but he is so confident. Recording and reporting on the war between the two top pirate groups, Whitebeard and Oaku, is not a simple matter. 0 Please ask for flowers. No one wants to let others know their situation, and no one wants to reveal the secrets of their own pirate group. Once agreed, the situation of the Whitebeard Pirates will be completely exposed, and the consequences will be unimaginable. As one of the Dark Kings, it's impossible for Morgans not to know this. But he still dared to say it, and even appeared here, which shows that he holds information that is enough to make Whitebeard's heart beat. Pure gold. I got the information about pure gold, and I know where it appears. As long as you agree, I can sell this news to you exclusively. No nonsense, Morgan said every word while staring at Whitebeard. 0, pure gold? What is that? What the hell, gold? Hearing this, Marco and the other captains looked at each other, completely unaware of the value of the information Morgan said. Even Whitebeard was a little surprised. Do you really mean what you say? However, Ron in the crowd could not sit still and stepped forward and asked, is it really pure gold? Pure gold. One of the very few ways to extend lifespan in the world of One Piece. In the original work, the Straw Hat Pirates encountered a lanternfish hiding pure gold, but they were not sure of it. If Luffy in the original novel had grasped this, he would have been able to completely resolve the flaw in his second gear that consumes his lifespan with pure gold. It's a pity that the Straw Hat Pirates at that time did not have this awareness, which also resulted in Junjin passing them by in a real sense. But it's different now. If Whitebeard gets pure gold, not only will his lifespan be greatly extended, but his own injuries will be repaired quickly. At that time, Whitebeard will not grow old day by day, but will become younger and younger, and even his strength will recover rapidly. Ron, Ron, what is pure gold? Ron, what does this pure gold do? Seeing Ron, who was suddenly excited, Marco and others asked one after another. Although I don't know exactly how. But Marco and others didn't think it was a simple thing to make Ron so excited. Chapter 52: The Whereabouts of Pure Gold and the Explosion of Airshock. Advertisement. Oh, this is Ron. You look really young. Morgans glanced at Ron in surprise. He didn't expect that someone in the Whitebeard Pirates actually knew the information about pure gold. And this person is not Whitebeard, but Supernova Ron, who is called Whitebeard's successor. For a moment, Morgan's face became more playful and expectant, but he didn't interrupt. After all, he also wanted to know whether the information Ron knew was correct and complete. Ron, tell me, Whitebeard also came to his senses at this time and spoke. Yes. After agreeing, Ron gradually came to his senses, took a deep breath and said, pure gold, an extremely special treasure. As far as I know, there is nothing special about pure gold itself, but it also has an extremely terrifying effect, extending life. Holding pure gold in 613 can greatly extend a person's lifespan, which may be decades or even hundreds of years. It can also heal hidden wounds and hidden diseases in the body, which will make a person's physical fitness improve with time. As time goes by, it returns to its peak form. Because of this, pure gold can be said to be the most precious treasure in the world. Its value even exceeds the zone phantom beast species in devil fruit. And its quantity is so rare that it can even be said that there is almost no stock in the world, except world government. What? Extend your life, heal the injury, restore your peak condition. After listening to Ron's words, Marco and others all exploded. They had guessed that pure gold was of huge value, otherwise Morgans would not have dared to say such words, and would even come to Whitebeard for a deal. But they never expected that the value of this pure gold would be so terrifying. Extend your life. Repair hidden damage. The abilities of these two are great news for Whitebeard. As long as pure gold can be given to Whitebeard, the old Whitebeard will return to his peak in one fell swoop, and his lifespan will even be greatly extended. He will continue to maintain the title of the strongest man in the world, and maintain the transcendent status of the Whitebeard Pirates. Does Ron mean what he said? Ron, does pure gold really have such an effect? In an instant, Marco and the others didn't care about anything else, and quickly gathered around and started asking questions. After all, this matter is related to the future of Whitebeard, and even more importantly, the future of the entire pirate group. It is true, however, before Ron could finish speaking, Morgans on the side spoke first. Pure gold does have such an effect. Because of this, I have the confidence to do business here. Whitebeard, how about it, do you agree? After saying that, Morgans looked at Whitebeard with piercing eyes, his eyes full of heat. Pure gold. This thing is of great value, and if the news spreads, it can shock the world. But this kind of information is not unique to him. Although he got it first, it will be spread out soon. But this time the duel between Whitebeard and Oaku is different. This is definitely something that no one else can participate in. No one from the Beast's Pirates, Big Mom Pirates, Red Hair Pirates, World Government, or Marine can come here. Beehive Island is in the hinterland of the Whitebeard Pirates. Anyone who dares to break in will start a war with the Whitebeard Pirates. Without precise information that Whitebeard is weak, no one will offend Whitebeard rashly. So, this information can also detonate the world. As long as Whitebeard agrees, this news will be enough to make world news a lot of money, and even. However, Whitebeard did not answer at this moment. Advertisement, although pure gold, is tempting. But he knows very well that this battle is not simple. If he cannot crush the Oaku pirates by then, it will inevitably cause various hidden dangers and turmoil. Dad, agree, Dad, we must get the pure gold information. Dad, that pure gold belongs to you, you must get it. Seeing this situation, Marco and others became anxious. Although they all know that if Morgans reports, this matter will be troublesome and the situation will even worsen. But for the sake of pure gold information and to extend Whitebeard's life, they no longer care about so much. Ken. Looking at the anxious Marco and others, Whitebeard took a deep breath before agreeing. He also understands the thoughts of Marco and others, and he is more aware of the value and role of paper money to himself. If there is pure gold, then he can continue to protect the Whitebeard Pirates, but if not, then after this incident, I am afraid that the Whitebeard Pirates will fall into huge turmoil, or even split. 0. Thinking of this, Whitebeard looked at Morgans and said, "Tell me the location of the pure gold." Ken. Nodding, Morgans smiled even more. Whitebeard agreed, which was great news for him. Without any hesitation, Morgans said directly, "Heavenly gold." Among the heavenly gold sent to the world government 3 months later is a mask made of pure gold. The news has been confirmed, and many people in the dark world are waiting and peeking at its existence. The most important thing is that this news has been blocked by our king of the dark world, and no one else will know about it, including the big pirates of the new world. If you want it, you have to go to the Grand Line and prepare in 3 months, otherwise, you will lose the possibility of seizing that thing. Heavenly gold. Pure gold mask. After listening to Morgan's words, Ron and others all frowned. If this is the case, then this matter is extremely troublesome, and even trying to capture that thing is extremely difficult. After all, it's 3 months. No one knows how many people will know this information and how many people will be involved in this matter. I see. However, Whitebeard nodded calmly at this moment, and slowly said, "If this is the case in 5.2, let's make a quick decision. Morgans, I agree to your terms, prepare yourself." While speaking, Whitebeard stood up suddenly and walked straight to the bow area of the ship. Before anyone could react, Whitebeard clenched his fists tightly in the area in front of him. As the terrifying power began to spread, he aimed at the area beside him and blasted out. Air shock. Click click, the sound of shattering resounded, and you could clearly see that the space exploded at this moment. Coming. Daddy's air shock. Seeing this situation, Marco and others were refreshed and all of them were extremely excited. Including Ron at this moment. Air shock. This is one of Shock Fruit's special skills, and it is a killer move that can set off a super tsunami. Chapter 53 Tsunami Impact. The Battle of Beehive Island breaks out. Advertisement, so handsome. This is it, this is it. In the side area, Morgans was extremely excited. He quickly took out his camera and videophone and pointed it at Whitebeard. Kakaka, for a time, there was a steady stream of camera shots. As the sound of shattering completely dissipated, the spatial cracks between heaven and earth began to recover at a speed visible to the naked eye. At this point, Whitebeard exhaled heavily, raised his head and looked at the area ahead and said, "Get ready to fight." Yes, yes. Hearing this, Marco and other captains came to their senses. As Whitebeard's adopted sons, They have followed Whitebeard in battles for so many years, and they already know what will happen after the earthquake. Huge tsunami. The destructive power will lead them directly into the Beehive Island and destroy most of the people on the Beehive Island. The real decisive battle will also begin completely. Without any hesitation, the team captains quickly took out their phone bugs and began to issue orders to prepare for war. Ron, at this time, Sachi's voice resounded. 20 saw him quickly coming to the area next to Ron, casually putting a knife into his hand and saying, "Beasta has already told me. But ordinary knives are too brittle and not suitable for you. This is a famous sword. Although it is only a good and fast sword, it is enough to help you." Famous sword. Hearing this, Ron's eyes lit up. Although he will get Odin's knife later, he has not yet got this thing after all. Now that we have this good and sharp knife, the next battle will be much simpler and smoother. "Thank you, Captain Thatch." For a moment, Ron immediately thanked him. "No need." Waving his hands, Saki said solemnly. "We will all be involved in the next battle, and we will not be able to protect you well then. You don't want to get involved in the core combat area to ensure your own safety, you know?" For Ron, Sachi cares about and values them very much. Not only did Whitebeard announce that Ron was the heir, the most important thing was that Ron was a member of the 4th Division and an orphan he rescued from the island. It can be said that the relationship between him and Ron is that of captain and team member, but in fact it is somewhat similar to that of father and son, brothers, or workers. "I see." Ron nodded solemnly, his face serious. He knew what Saki meant, and he would not risk his own life either. He will participate in the battle, but he will act according to his ability. He will not be stupid enough to fight with those invincible guys. Rumble rumble. At this moment, a vibrating sound resounded. Looking around, you can see that the sea level behind is beginning to rise rapidly. Under such circumstances, the ships of the Whitebeard Pirates began to climb along the waves. 10 meters, 30 meters, 50 meters, 70 meters, 100 meters. The tsunami reached a height of 100 meters, and the growing trend stopped. The huge tsunami quickly attacked Beehive Island. Tsunami. The tsunami is coming. Whitebeard activated his powers. Advertisement, evacuate, quickly evacuate to higher areas. For a time, countless exclamations resounded in Beehive Island. Everyone in the Oaku pirates was stunned, and the panic in their hearts reached the ultimate level. If someone were affected by such a huge tsunami, they would definitely die. Including Oaku and others who had come out to prepare for the battle. Their faces changed drastically at this moment and they flew towards the highest area of Beehive Island, constantly cursing. "Damn Whitebeard, this guy has no martial ethics. He actually launched a tsunami directly. Whitebeard is really determined to fight to the death. Isn't that guy Whitebeard already old? Why can he still exert such devastating power?" However, their scoldings mean nothing. The tsunami with a height of 100 meters is getting faster and faster, and its height is even gradually increasing. Soon, the tsunami arrived at Beehive Island, coming. Shock fruit's power of destruction. Great, big news, this is definitely big news. In midair, Morgans had transformed into a birdman form, frantically taking pictures and filming, looking at the scenery below with burning eyes. "How many years? I only climbed to the top of 4 emperors from Whitebeard. It has been many years since I have made such a bold move, and it has been so many years since I have unleashed such a world-destroying power. As long as this information is passed on, it will definitely shock the whole world. It's a pity that I didn't prepare the live broadcast equipment. Otherwise, if this scene is broadcast live, it will definitely overturn the whole world. But that's fine, such big news belongs to me. Morgans, I'm definitely the #1 news in the world." Speaking incoherently, Morgan's text was trembling with excitement. Rumble rumble, a deafening roar resounded, and a tsunami hit Beehive Island. In an instant, you can clearly see all the buildings in the Beehive Island, the animals and plants were completely destroyed, and countless figures were involved before they could escape. Ah! Screams resounded continuously, and it was clear that countless pirates under the Oaku pirates died immediately. Under the impact of the seawater, they did not even have the slightest resistance. Only in the 730 area on the top of a high mountain, a large area of white frost appeared at this moment, freezing the seawater close to the range, but it could not spread to the surrounding areas, even less likely to rescue and prevent anything. It took a full 5 minutes for the super-large tsunami to recede, and the ships of the 16 divisions of the Whitebeard Pirates landed on the Beehive Island. Kill! Kill! Without any hesitation, the loud shouts of killing resounded throughout the sky. The division captain headed by Marco was the first to disembark from the ship. Immediately afterwards, the members of the 16 divisions also stepped off the ship one after another and began to quickly annihilate the injured but not dead pirates on the ground. At the same time, they quickly began to move towards the pirates, running away from the top of the mountain where Oaku and others were. Whitebeard, damn Whitebeard, if you don't want to die, then I will accompany you. At this time, the roar of Oaku resounded in the mountaintop area. The frost cleared, and Oaku led a large number of cadres and elites out. Looking at the densely massacred crew members, his eyes were filled with tears, because his hand was strange. Kill the captains of the Whitebeard Pirates for me. Yes. Yes. Hearing this, the snow leopard and others behind him also rushed out impatiently. They had already discussed it before. Their target was the squad leader, but they did not dare to trouble Whitebeard. Chapter 54 Marco vs Wang Hao, Chaozi vs Kidden Advertisement. The next second, the battle broke out completely. Marco and others fought with Ochaku's cadres. The terrifying power exploded completely, and he went all out as soon as he took action. Marco, die! A low roar resounded, and a figure quietly appeared in the area in front of Marco. A long sword in his hand stabbed straight into Marco's heart. Vice captain of the Oaku Pirates, Wang Hao. Seeing the person coming, Marco dodged and avoided the opponent's attack. Immediately afterwards, his figure swayed, and he immediately switched to the orc posture, and kicked out with his right foot, Phoenix Seal. The next second, the Phoenix Seal collided with the long sword covering Armament haki. Jung the fire splashed everywhere, and Marco's figure jumped into the air, while Wang Hao suddenly retreated a dozen meters before stopping. Damn it, how did your strength increase so much? With his body stable, Wang Hao shook his numb arms and looked at Marco in midair in disbelief. As the great pirate of the New World, almost everyone knows how much they weigh. Moreover, there were many battles between the Oaku Pirates and the Whitebeard Pirates in the past. As the vice captain, he and Marco were also old rivals. But now? The power Marco exerted was completely beyond his understanding, and it was even much stronger than before. Of course we can't slack off. In midair, Marco raised the corner of his mouth and looked at Wang Hao with a playful look. We, the Whitebeard Pirates, have a powerful air. How can we, brothers and captains, stay still? Wang Hao, I fought with you 38 times in the past. We all had our own victories and defeats, and many times we were evenly matched. But today, even if we fight each other, we will decide whether to live or die. As he spoke, the flame on Marco's head flickered. Immediately afterwards, you can clearly see that the blue flame transformed into dark blue at a speed visible to the naked eye. In an instant, the temperature of the flames around him rose rapidly, reaching 600 degrees Celsius in a short period of time. Finally done, 17 The corners of his mouth raised, feeling his ever-increasing power. The smile on Marco's face became stronger and stronger. After Ron completed devouring the power of the Mara fruit and evolved his phoenix blue flame into Lan Yan, Marco also approached Ace. He is a genuine phoenix fruit ability user, and the level of development is not comparable to that of Ron. Although it was difficult, he still completed it and successfully evolved his Qing Yan into Lan Yan. The flame temperature increased 3 times, and his development of the phoenix fruit also improved a lot. Because of this, Marco's strength at this moment is many times greater than before, and his shortcomings of insufficient attack power have also been greatly improved. How could the flame temperature of the phoenix fruit increase so much? On the ground, Wang Hao stared blankly at this scene. His whole face suddenly looked ferocious. At this moment, a black aura emerged from Wang Hao's body. Immediately afterwards, you can see that countless feathers began to appear on the area on his body, but his feathers were blue-black. A chill filled the air, and a cry resounded from his body. Violent. The next second, Wang Hao transformed into a beast-man, and a black eye appeared in the forehead area, filled with the emotions of killing, destruction, and a faint chill. Zone bird fruit phantom beast species netherworld phoenix form. Advertisement. Seeing this scene, Marco was not afraid, but was very calm. Come on. Today, you and I will decide who is the true king. After saying that, Marco's figure swayed, and he swooped towards Wang Hao while waving his arms. War. In this regard, Wang Hao did not refuse. The famous sword in his hand was filled with chills, and a pair of black wings appeared behind him, leading him to fly into the mid-air area to meet Marco. Bang 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 bang. In an instant, Marco and Wang Hao were fighting together. The power of both sides was hot and cold. As they continued to collide, the terrifying power spread out, causing the surrounding members of the Whitebeard Pirates and Oaku Pirates to retreat quickly without daring to get close. Josie, I finally found you. On the other end, Josie was killing the members of the Oaku Pirates, and suddenly a vicious voice sounded. The next second, a figure came quickly, and a tiger claw covered with armament haki attacked Josie's heart without hesitation. It's you, kitten. Feeling the fluctuation behind him, Chaozi was not afraid at all. The next second, the brilliance of diamonds on his body was visible, and the tiger claws covering armament haki struck hard, but it only splashed countless diamond debris and could not pose a threat to Josie at all. The defeated general will die. After receiving a blow, Josie's counterattack only took a moment. Haki, whose diamond fist was covered in armed color, bombarded the area behind him without hesitation. A roaring sound resounded, and a half-man, half-tiger figure could be seen quickly retreating more than 10 meters. After his body stabilized, the kitten's eyes turned red and he stared at Josie with murderous intent. Damn guy, today will not be like back then. If someone hadn't helped you, how could you have been my opponent back then? No one can help you now, Josie, just die. As he spoke, the kitten transformed into a beast-man faster. But in the blink of an eye, he transformed into a human-shaped tiger. At this moment, his aura reached the ultimate level, and his whole body began to be surrounded by a faint cyan auspiciousness. Awakening. Seeing this scene, Chaozi's face darkened. He didn't expect that in just a few years, the kitten would actually awaken its devil fruit. Feeling the aura emanating from his body that was far beyond the level of a general, Josie knew that this battle was going to be a fierce battle. However, he also had a reason not to lose. After taking a deep breath, the bright diamond brilliance around him began to darken at a speed visible to the naked eye. Armament haki's coverage directly enveloped his whole body. After doing all this, Josie said, "Come on, kitten. It's time to show off. Kill." Hearing this, the kitten didn't hesitate. After letting out a loud roar, he suddenly rushed towards Chaozi. In this regard, Chaozi did not hesitate, strode forward, raised his fist and hit it. Bang jung. In an instant, two huge figures were constantly clashing. Josie's fists kept hitting the kitten, but they could not pose a fatal threat. The kitten's claws also kept attacking Josie, but they could not break through the diamond defense of armament haki. Chapter 55 Saki vs Sher Z and Yi Ace's Rescue. Advertisement. Thatch. Finally found you. At the other end, Sher Z also arrived at Saki's location. Looking at the figures who were fighting there, a strong murderous intention and hatred suddenly emerged in Xie eyes. Get out of my way. With a low roar, Xie took action boldly. The ground began to collapse, turning into mud at a speed visible to the naked eye, and then attacked the area where Saki was from all directions. This is mud fruit. When the future struck, Sachi immediately sensed the danger. After taking a look at the mud rushing from all directions, his eyes immediately locked on Xie not far away. Immediately afterwards, Saki suddenly jumped up. Sea Moonwalk activates. His figure directly avoided the mud coming from all directions, and arrived at the area where Xie was in a few steps. Xie, come and die. Without any hesitation, Saki's whole body arced with electricity, and he fell from the sky directly towards Shirzi. How can it be? Marine's moonwalk. Seeing this situation, Shirzi's face changed drastically. He never expected that things would turn out like this. Moonwalk. That's Marine's secret, and it's logically impossible for outsiders to get it. But what is going on? Why would Sachi, the captain of the Whitebeard Pirates, moonwalk? The most important thing is, this guy Saki obviously didn't eat devil fruit, so why has he turned into demon fruit power now? Not good. Astonished, Shirzi did not evade immediately. In an instant, his expression changed drastically. Facing this blow from Saki, he couldn't even dodge. Fight! Gritting his teeth, Circular Z did not activate elementalization. After all, the armament haki in Sachi's hand exists, and his elementalization has no meaning. On the contrary, he will be directly hit hard. With a thought, armament haki covered his hands, and he quickly raised his hands in a blocking gesture. Death! With a low growl, Sachi's fist hit Shirzi's arm. Bang! In an instant, Shirzi's figure was knocked away. His face looked painful, and countless sludge began to appear on his body and sprayed in all directions. When his figure stabilized, a long mud trail and a faint blood stain had been drawn on the ground. Shirzi, your haki is still so weak. After the blow, Saki looked at Shirzi and said lightly. Thatch, you be ********D. Hearing this, Shirzi opened his mouth and looked at Sachi with eyes full of anger, hatred and murderous intent. However, he is also very aware that his armament haki is indeed weaker, at least when facing Saki, it is much worse. Suppressing the anger in his heart, Shirzi said, when did you eat devil fruit? Why did you get Marine 6 styles? Speaking of this, he seemed to have thought of something and looked around. It can be seen that many members of the Whitebeard Pirates are also using Marine 6 styles-like methods at this moment. Looks similar, but seems to be stronger than Marine 6 styles. You don't need to know this. Glancing at Shirzi indifferently, Thatch raised his hand, and the electric arc jumped all over his body. Shirzi, since you have taken action against me, the Whitebeard Pirates, the friendship between you and me in the past has come to an end. That's it. Next, I will try my best to annihilate you. After saying that, he moved. As soon as his right foot stepped on the ground, the arc suddenly accelerated. At this moment, Sachi's speed increased significantly, but he appeared in the area in front of Shirzi in the blink of an eye. Die! A cold voice resounded, and Sachi's punch went straight to Shirzi's head. So fast, seeing this situation, he shrank. He could feel that Saki did not use any special means or techniques at this moment. It was just the power of the devil fruit that caused his speed to soar. Not caring about anything else, he quickly raised his hands to block again. The next second, Shirzi was knocked out again. At this moment, not only did his whole body begin to become muddy and collapse, but he was also constantly vomiting blood in his mouth. Sure enough, after the lightning stimulation, the speed, body and strength are stronger. I didn't expect Ron to be so good at developing the power of lightning. Seeing this situation, Sachi raised the corners of his mouth. This is a development technique that Ron accidentally told him in the past. As Zone in the thunderous form, in addition to the strength of the orc and beast transformation, the power of thunder and lightning cannot be underestimated. Even though thunder and lightning is not very powerful, it can still exert considerable power as long as it is used properly. Just like Saki at this moment. At first, Ron only told him the idea of using lightning to stimulate acupuncture points and the lightning-style armor. During this period of practice, Saki also perfected it. Although it was only in the rough stage, it also greatly improved his own strength. Impossible. This is absolutely impossible. Shirzi was crazy and found it difficult to accept such a situation. He couldn't understand why Sachi's strength suddenly improved so much that he couldn't even hold on. However, before he could continue to say anything, Sachi's figure had already moved again, heading straight towards him to attack. Advertisement, not good. As soon as his pupils shrank, Shirzi subconsciously wanted to dodge. Shirzi, let me help you. At this moment, a low roar sounded. The next second, a figure appeared in the area in front of Shirzi. It can be seen that his whole body was covered with armament haki, and he did not make any defensive gestures, and stood directly in front of Thatch. After punching this person, Saki frowned and said, "It's you." Iron Body Noji. Astonishingly, the person who appeared in front of Sachi this time was Yi-Er. As an esper of the Paramecia Iron Body fruit, his physical defense is extremely powerful, second only to Ziz of the Whitebeard Pirates. Coupled with the powerful armament haki, his defense has reached a terrifying level. Even an attack stimulated by Sachi's lightning would not pose a threat to it. Go to hell, Mud Bomb. However, before Sachi could continue to speak, a vicious voice came from behind Yi-Er. The next second, a ball of silt surrounding armament haki could be seen attacking Sake. In addition, the ground in the area under Saki also began to collapse rapidly and turned into mud, threatening to swallow him up. Not good. In an instant, Sachi's expression changed drastically. Thunder and lightning danced all over his body, forcing him to break away from the mud cover. Armament haki covered himself and quickly made a blocking gesture. At this moment, countless mud bombs attacked him, and Saki was completely knocked away. "I'll trap this guy, Sherzi, and you'll attack from the side." With murderous intent flashing in his eyes, Yi-Er accelerated sharply and pursued Saki. He knew very well that if Isaac's situation could not be entangled, the consequences would be disastrous. Therefore, the best choice is to entangle it and not give it a chance to dodge. Only in this way can the power of the mud fruit be truly effective. Good. Asking for flowers. After agreeing, Sherzi did not hesitate. With a wave of his hand, the power of the mud fruit was activated. Countless mud poured out from the ground and rushed towards the area where Saki was once again. Fire punch. However, before they could get close, a low roar came from a nearby area. The next second, scorching flames surged out, and a huge fire fist gathered together, sweeping towards the field at a speed visible to the naked eye. Under the terrifying flames, the silt solidified directly in place. Wherever the huge fire fist passed, the solidified silt was directly destroyed. Moreover, the huge fire fist was aimed directly at Yi-Er and Shiezi. Not good. His expression changed drastically. Although Yi-Er was an iron body fruit user, his expression still changed slightly when faced with such an attack from Logia. Wall of silt. At the critical moment, Shiezi took action. As soon as he slapped the ground with his hands, a huge wall of mud emerged and blocked the area in front of the two of them. The next second, the fire fist collided with the mud wall. Rumble rumble. The explosion sounded loudly, and the mud wall collapsed rapidly, including Yi-Er and Shiezi, and their figures were covered in flames. 0. Ace. Seeing this scene, Saki breathed a sigh of relief. Then he looked to the side and said, "You're here." Brother Saki. With the corner of his mouth raised, Ace stepped to the area next to Sage. After glancing at the place where the flames were raging not far away, he said, "Leave Shiezi to me. It's all Logia, his mud fruit was restrained by me." Good. Nodding, Sachi did not refuse. Although his strength has been improved, it is still very difficult in a one-on-two situation. Yi-Er's defense combined with Shiezi's Logia ability made him feel tricky and difficult to deal with. Now with Ace's help, this matter will be much easier. When fighting alone, he didn't take it seriously. Fire Fist Ace. "Damn you brat." At this time, angry voices came. Following the sound, the figures of Yi-Er and Shiezi could be seen emerging from the flames. It's just that they are in an extremely miserable state at this moment. All their clothes have been burned to pieces, and all the hair on their bodies has been burned away. The two bald heads are completely black, and their eyes are red, which expresses the inner anger and murderous intent. Peeved. Seeing this, Ace smiled, with a playful look on his face. 2 braised eggs. Is this all a big pirate? The bounty is more than 500 million Baileys. I want to see what qualifications you have. Brother Saki, let's go down together. After saying that, Ace raised his hand and punched the fire again before attacking. However, unlike the previous large-scale fire fist, the area of this fire fist is much smaller, but it is more powerful when it is solidified, and the target is also directed at Shiezi. Ha ha, Brother Ace, Let's see who can kill each other first. With a laugh, Sa-chi was in a good mood at the moment. Thunder and lightning stimulated his acupuncture points, and he quickly attacked the area where Yi-er was. But in the blink of an eye, his figure arrived at Yi-er, punched him and said in a cold voice, "Yi-er, today is the day you die. So many people from my 4th division were killed back then. I will kill you today to avenge them." "Yeah?" With a cold smile. Yi-er was not afraid at all. "Sa-chi, you couldn't do anything to me back then, and the same is true now. Let me see what you have learned under Whitebeard over the years." Chapter 56 Hobie vs Beasta, Ron's killing. Advertisement. In an instant, Yi-er's figure had arrived in front of Sa-chi. Well done. In this regard, Sa-chi did not hesitate and quickly rushed out to attack. In an instant, the two figures were fighting together. Unlike before, this time the two of them were fighting in close quarters. The peak showdown between haki and taijutsu directly caused the ground in the entire area to continue to explode. Of course, such a battle is strong, but compared to Xie and Ace on the side, it is far behind. Every move of Logia's confrontation was destructive, with sky covering flames and rolling mud. The figures of Ace and Xie kept intersecting with each other. With the spread of terrifying power, no matter the Whitebeard pirates in the surrounding area, the members of the Oaku pirates couldn't bear it anymore, and they retreated in panic, fearing that they would be affected. 817. Beasta, finally found you. At the same time, Hobie has also arrived at the area where Beasta is. Seeing the figure of a handsome young man walking among the crowd holding two knives, his eyes suddenly burst out with strong resentment. "Hobie, you finally came." Beasta was not surprised when he saw the person coming. With two swords in his hands, he directly killed several elite members of the Oaku pirates beside him. Immediately afterwards, he came to the area in front of Hobie with two swords in hand, and slowly said, "I didn't expect that you could survive." "Yes." With a cold smile, Hobie stared at Beasta with his eyes fixed on him, gritted his teeth and said, "If I hadn't deserved my death back then, I'm afraid I would have really died in your hands. But you didn't expect that after I was driven into the cliff, I was not eaten by the sea kings in the sea. Instead, I encountered a sunken ship and a cave. Do you know how I spent my 3 years there?" Speaking of this, Hobie's body spurted killing intent. The violent killing intent was extremely strong. When combined with his own sword intent, it directly turned into a killing sword. With the sword intent rendering him, he was like a statue crawling out of hell. Shira. "How did it go?" With a raised brow, Beasta didn't have much expression on his face, but instead looked a little dull and indifferent. "Haha," with a cold smile, Hobie said, "Corpses, countless rotting corpses of sea kings. In order to seek revenge from you, I stayed in that hell for 3 full years. In the past 3 years, I have eaten countless rotten sea kings' corpses, and I have been on the verge of death, but I have no fear, because the only thing in my mind is to kill you. But I was lucky. I actually found a devil fruit inside the body of the sea kings, and it was also a zone phantom beast devil fruit. My swordsmanship has also advanced to the stage of a great swordsman. Beasta, I climbed out of hell, and now it's time for you to pay the price." At this moment, Hobie was completely crazy. It can be seen that his body is shaking, and scales appear one after another, which directly makes his clothes shatter. The next second, it was seen that except for the scales, the rest of Hobie's body was rotten. There were countless thick wounds, poisonous packets, and even maggots could be seen climbing inside. Especially his face. At this moment, except for half of his face that has turned into a snake shape, the other half of his face has already turned into a white bone state. The whole person standing with a knife feels extremely cruel. Very good. In this regard, Beasta did not have any fear, but nodded very seriously and said, "This is the price you should bear. There are 3,800 people on an island, all of whom are innocent people. You can just lead people to plunder them, but instead you massacre them all. Countless limbs and broken arms fill the entire island. You look pretty good now. At least 3 years have made you feel a little bit of the pain of the people who died on the island." Advertisement, cut the nonsense. After hearing this, I compared. How could he not know what Beasta was referring to? But as a pirate, killing, burning, and looting was his job, and he would never regret anything. Taking one step forward, Hobie said coldly, "Beasta, it's your turn next. Don't worry, I won't kill you. I will maim you and throw you into the area where I was. 3 years, 3 full years. I will make you pay double the price for your past actions. Come and die." While talking, Hobie moved. He held a knife in both hands, jumped up and slashed straight towards Beasta. 1 sword style, mountain cutting, fancy. Seeing this, Beasta curled her lips in disdain. Although Hobie's aura is stronger, his strength is also stronger. But he didn't pay attention to the so-called swordsmanship at all. What about the great swordsman? Just this kind of beast-like behavior is not worthy of being called his opponent. Kill. Without hesitation, Beasta grasped the 2 swords in his hands and chose to attack without hesitation. Jung! In an instant, fire exploded, and the battle between Beasta and Hobie completely broke out. The first move is a killing move, without any mercy at all. This is a swordsman. This is a duel between great swordsmen. It seems that the competition is only about swordsmanship, which does not even have much destructive power, but its moves are also fatal, and even one's life can be lost if one is not careful. And similar situations keep happening. The 15 division captains of the Whitebeard Pirates, plus Ace, are now fighting with the senior officers of the Oaku Pirates. There were constant roars throughout the Beehive Island, and the fighting between senior cadres and squad leaders was very powerful and even destructive. But overall, the Oaku Pirates have fallen into a disadvantage. After all, the tsunami caused by Whitebeard's airshock was too powerful before. This also resulted in many members of the Oaku Pirates being seriously injured, 4.3 and even losing the courage to fight. Under such circumstances, the more than 5,000 members of the Whitebeard Pirates are now fighting much easier on the island. Almost always in 2-on-1 or even 3-on-1 situations. Death. Within the crowd, Ron was walking around the edge of the battlefield holding a knife. With Sachi's previous reminder, Ron would not foolishly fight with those senior cadres. Although the strength at the school level is not weak, within New World it is only at the level of a pawn. But even so, Ron has killed dozens of members of the Oaku Pirates at this moment. Peefed, blood splattered, and the neck of a pirate in front of Ron quietly exploded. As the sword flashed across, its head flew out at this moment, and after falling on the ground, it traveled more than 10 meters before stopping. Chapter 57 Chain Yan Shiranui, a strong 2nd Commodore-class pirate. Advertisement, call. After killing his opponent with 1 blow, Ron let out a heavy breath. Although he was only at the edge of the battlefield, he could still feel the cruelty of the fighting at this moment. The strength of the members of the Oaku Pirates is not weak, and they are not comparable to the guys like the poisonous wolf pirates of the past. Even the ordinary team members all have school-level combat effectiveness. If it is an elite team member, there may even be a colonel, even close to the strength of the Commodore. This also led to the fact that he had been fighting for more than an hour. Even though he had killed more than 20 opponents, he was still a little tired. "Kid, go to hell." Suddenly, a violent voice sounded. Following the sound, a member of the Oaku Pirates could be seen stabbing Ron directly with a long knife. This person's aura is not weak, at least he has reached the level of a colonel. "Kill me? Don't speak out arrogantly." With a look on his face, Ron tightened his grip on the famous sword and faced him forward without retreating. "Shunpo, 20. Draw your sword and chop." In just an instant, Ron's figure appeared in an area more than 10 meters away. The next second, the body of the guy who attacked Ron fell to the ground. The blood marks on his neck appeared, and blood continuously overflowed from it. He did not die immediately, but he fell to the ground with his eyes wide open and could not stand movement and speech. Killing another person, Ron didn't think about anything else. At this moment, his inner mood has been completely stable, and he does not have much emotional fluctuations about killing. Holding the knife, Ron continued to search for his prey. He did not go directly to find any strong men for a duel, but looked for those who were injured, and relied on the swiftness of Shunpo and draw sword to make a surprise attack, seeking the possibility of killing them with 1 blow. As time went by, Ron killed more and more people. Although almost all of them were injured, people around him gradually noticed his presence. "Damn it! Come here and follow me and kill this kid." Finally, a Commodore-level pirate couldn't stand it anymore. After killing a member of the Whitebeard Pirates with one knife, he directly took the knife and headed towards the area where Ron was. And his words immediately aroused the recognition of several Oaku pirates. After quickly disposing of their opponents, 5 pirates who were about the level of a colonel followed and headed towards the area where Ron was. "Not good, Ron, be careful." Seeing this situation, a member of the 4th Division shrank his pupils. He noticed this scene for the first time and quickly shouted. While the people in the other divisions were unfamiliar with Ron, the people in the 4th Division were extremely familiar with Ron's existence. Because of this, they were even more reluctant to see anything happen to Ron. Hearing the shouts, Ron's footsteps stopped. Subconsciously, he turned his head and looked around, and immediately saw the 6 figures rushing towards him with murderous intent. At the first moment, he felt the strong aura from the 6 people. "Commodore?" With a raised brow, Ron's eyes were filled with fighting spirit. Unlike the guys he killed before, the Commodore-class pirate he led made him full of fighting spirit. Without any hesitation, Ron raised his knife and rushed forward. "Kid, go to hell!" Advertisement. Almost instantly, the leader of the pirates slashed at Ron with a knife. The 5 people behind him were not to be outdone, and they all controlled the swords, guns and clubs in their hands to attack Ron, leaving him no chance to dodge or avoid at all. In the blink of an eye, the 6-man attack was close to where Ron was. It could be clearly seen that the 6 pirates had sinister smiles on their faces, as if they were sure that Ron would die. "Not a bad idea, but it's not enough." Ron laughed at this. With a cruel smile on his face, he put the famous sword back into the scabbard on his waist. Stretching out his hand, dark blue flames erupted at this moment, spreading directly to cover the 6 people. Lanyan Shiranui. In an instant, mass inflammation broke out. As the center, a dark blue fire pillar rising into the sky appeared within 10 meters of him. "Ah! 1. The screams resounded, and the 5 school-level pirates had no resistance at all, and were directly burned to death by Lan Yan. The flame temperature of 600 degrees Celsius erupted in an instant. Except for those with demon fruit power, strong physiques and haki owners, it was really impossible to resist with the physical body. Including the Commodore-level pirate. At this moment, the long knife in his hand had been completely melted, and his body had also been carbonized. He died on the spot before he could even utter any words, maintaining a motionless posture. "That is Phoenix Fire. No, this is not Captain Marco's fire, this is Ron, that Ron's ability. Oh my god, he is the heir to the captain. So strong, such a terrifying flame. Is he the hope of the future Whitebeard Pirates?" Quote. At this moment, people around were in an uproar. Everyone's eyes were focused on Ron. Both the Whitebeard Pirates and the Oaku Pirates are no exception. Except for the people in the 4th team. Although people from other divisions had noticed Ron's excellence before, they didn't pay much attention to him. After all, they didn't know him well and thought he was a member of other divisions. But they never expected that Ron would be the heir to Whitebeard who caused a sensation all over the world some time ago. The man who was offered a bounty of 300 million belly by Marine before he even debuted. After a brief shock, the people around the Whitebeard Pirates also became excited, and they all shouted in anger, "Ron! Ron!" At this moment, Ron already had a certain status in their hearts. Although this was only a small-scale matter, there was no doubt that as Ron revealed his identity by displaying Lan Yan, everyone's sense of recognition and belonging to him increased. It can even be clearly seen that the more powerful members of the Whitebeard Pirate Group are beginning to approach this area. It's not that he wants to help Ron, but he wants to guard against the strong men of the Oaku Pirates coming to attack Ron. Whitebeard heir Ron. Why is he here? Damn guy, have you been pretending to be a pig and eating the tiger? Brothers, come together and FK this guy for me. On the contrary, the members of the Oaku Pirates are also murderous. Although Ron's identity was indeed surprising at first, in just a moment, everyone's most important thought was to kill Ron. After all, Ron's identity is there. Regardless of their strength, As long as they are killed, it will definitely be a huge blow to the Whitebeard Pirates, and they will also be able to take this opportunity to become famous in the sea. Chapter 58 Lanyan The stars are shining, Oaku invites Whitebeard to fight. Advertisement. Trouble. Seeing this, Ron frowned. Although Lan Yan's explosion just killed several pirates instantly, it also made him the target of public criticism. Under the current circumstances, being the target of public criticism is undoubtedly extremely dangerous. But he had no other way to deal with it, at least he didn't have the ability to directly annihilate everyone present. After all, his strength is still too weak. Kill. Kill Ron. Kill Ron. Almost instantly, shouts of killing resounded in the surrounding area. The members of the Oaku pirates were attacking Ron as if they had been beaten to death. Regardless of their strength, they have only one idea now: kill Ron. After all, the Oaku pirates and the Whitebeard pirates are already fighting to the death. If Ron, the heir, is killed, it will be a huge blow to the morale of the Whitebeard pirates. Protect Ron. Stop them. Kill these guys. Seeing this, everyone in the Whitebeard Pirates group also reacted. I don't know what these people were thinking. Without any hesitation, the group of people quickly blocked and intercepted them, not giving them a chance to get close to Ron. However, just intercepting is still very difficult. Although the vast majority of people were blocked by the Whitebeard Pirates, a large number of people still broke through the obstacles, and at this moment they went straight to where Ron was. At this moment, they are like a group of gamblers. The arrogant person thinks that as long as he gets close, he can kill Ron and become famous. Absolutely no other thoughts or ideas. Even when they encountered an interception on the way, their first thought was not to fight, but to avoid the attack and go to Ron's area. This also caused the people of the Oaku Pirates present to lose their fighting spirit, and the originally orderly members became disorganized, resulting in many people being killed before they even got close. Quote. Pipe. Quote. Ah. For a time, screams continued. You can clearly see the figures falling to the ground one after another, without any resistance or counterbalance at all. In a short period of time, the members of the Oaku Pirates in this area suffered heavy losses. Under such circumstances, there were still a large number of people approaching Ron. They all had red eyes and said with murderous intent, "Suffer death, Ron." Well, the day of death. Ron, you will definitely die today. Seeing this, Ron smiled. He had no idea that such a change would occur when his identity was revealed. Every target was locked on him, treating him as a dish that everyone wanted to eat. Floating giant trees are overestimating their own abilities. With one step, Ron transformed into a beast with a thought. The next second, Ron stretched his arms and transformed into the wings of a phoenix. He rose up to the sky and said condescendingly, "People of the Whitebeard Pirates, stand back." Lanyan katakana middle. The stars are shining brightly. In an instant, a deep blue light shone between heaven and earth. As the scorching temperature surged out, fireballs the size of millstones condensed in midair, and then began to attack the ground under Ron's control. Withdraw. Withdraw. Almost instantly, the Whitebeard Pirates quickly retreated. Advertisement. I was deeply afraid that I would be affected by Ron's attack. And those in the Oaku Pirates are also aware of the crisis, but at this moment they have no way out. The surrounding area has long been occupied by the Whitebeard Pirates. Once they get close, they will be attacked by a group. The area ahead is filled with fireballs, making it impossible to retreat. No. At this moment, the voice of regret resounded. The members of the Oaku Pirates above completely calmed down. But facing the fireball that covered the sky and the sun, they were too desperate to move and could not continue to resist. Rumble. Rumble. Deafening roars resounded continuously, Lanyan fireballs continued to explode, and the members of the Oaku Pirates died rapidly. Either it exploded into pieces in an instant, or it was directly burned to death by the temperature of Lan Yan. This is Phoenix. In midair, Morgan's shot stopped. The camera was immediately moved from the squad leader to the area where Ron was. Looking at Ron, who transformed into a beast in midair, there is no doubt that he is in existence in the form of the legendary zone, bird fruit, phantasmal beast species, and phoenix fruit. But this devil fruit was eaten by Marco. Marco is still alive and well and fighting somewhere. Why did another one appear? What's the situation? What's going on? Are there two identical devil fruits in the world? Muttering inwardly, Morgans raised his camera, pointed it at Ron, and took a quick photo. Although he didn't know why, he vaguely felt that there seemed to be some big secret in it. Ron. A supernova suddenly became the heir of Whitebeard from being unknown, probably because of these special circumstances and changes. Thinking of this, Morgans became even more excited and excited. If possible, he wished he could rush forward to find out what was going on, but the battlefield on Beehive Island was too big at the moment, with fighting in all areas. He was completely overwhelmed by himself, and could not even notice all the areas. Whitebeard. At this moment, a voice sounded. In an instant, the island, which had been filled with shouts of killing, fell into deathly silence. All the people fighting were stunned. They subconsciously took a few steps back and kept their distance, but their eyes were also directed towards the area on the top of the mountain. It can be seen that Oaku is already standing at the top of the mountain, looking down at Whitebeard standing on the Moby DK, with complex emotions of nostalgia, hatred and anger surging in his eyes. Soon, all Oaku's emotions were replaced by murderous intent, and he said with murderous intent, "Come on. It's time to settle the grievances that have persisted for so many years." Cool Lala. Listening to Oaku's words, Whitebeard smiled. He slowly raised his head, reached out and grabbed Kong Yunchi beside him and said, "Oaku, come and fight. Lousy is not in the mood to waste time running up to you. Come on, let's see how you have improved over the years." Blow a asterisk hole. Hearing this, Oaku's face darkened. He naturally had arrangements here, otherwise how could he have been inactive for so long? Unfortunately, now Whitebeard is not fooled at all. On the contrary, his words directly prevented Oaku from getting off the stage. If he didn't go at this time, wouldn't it make people think that he was afraid of Whitebeard or that he had some ulterior motives? Question mark. No matter which one, it is unacceptable to Oaku. Chapter 59 Oaku's Whitebeard, Conqueror's Entangled Confrontation. Advertisement. Whitebeard. Although he felt aggrieved, Oaku had to give up his deployment on the top of the mountain. After taking a deep look at the area where Whitebeard was, Oaku jumped up and flew straight in the direction of Whitebeard. Coming. King versus King. The ultimate showdown between Whitebeard and Oaku. Seeing this scene, everyone on Beehive Island was refreshed. If the previous fight between the squad leader and senior cadres was just a small fight, then the battle between Whitebeard and Oaku at this moment definitely attracted everyone's attention. Even Hobie, Marco and others are no longer as crazy as before. Instead, they are paying more attention to the situation between Whitebeard and Oaku. It finally begins. The pinnacle battle of the old era. In the sky, Morgans was even more excited than he could be. At this moment, he didn't care about thinking about Ron, and quickly moved the phone and camera to focus on Oaku and Whitebeard. Under the gaze of everyone, Oaku's figure can be seen flying rapidly. A group of black auspicious clouds wrapped around its body, and its facial expression changed into a lizard-like appearance at a speed visible to the naked eye. After 063 approached the area where Whitebeard was, Oaku pulled out the long knife from his waist, activated Conqueror's entanglement, and then slashed towards Whitebeard without hesitation. Whitebeard. Oaku. In this regard, Whitebeard is not to be outdone. Conqueror's coil was activated as he shook the Kongyunchi in his hand, then he raised his knife and pointed it in midair before slashing out. The next second, Chongjian and Kong Yunchi met in midair. However, the two did not directly collide with each other, but were separated by a fist distance. Immediately afterwards, the terrifying power of Conqueror's entanglement and collision burst out. Rumble. Rumble. The ground shook. The bow of the Moby DK exploded directly at this moment. Whitebeard and Oaku were both in the midair area, and the power of both sides spread rapidly at this moment. Thump. Thump. In an instant, countless figures fell to the ground. No matter it was the Whitebeard Pirates or the Oaku Pirates, they were unable to resist the Conqueror's entanglement spreading out. Under the Commodore, except for a very small number of people like Ron who mastered the Conquerors, the rest of them passed out without any resistance at all. Even so, the beings below Vice Admiral were all sweating profusely at this moment. The terrifying aftermath of haki spread, making them afraid to act and fight rashly for a while. Click. Suddenly, the sky exploded. Looking up, you can see the dark clouds in the sky splitting at this moment. Countless clouds rolled around, and just the collision of Conqueror's entanglements directly caused the heaven and earth to collapse. Incredible. Is this the strength of Whitebeard and Captain Oaku? Terrible, this is too scary. Is this the terrifying strength of the strong men in the old days? Advertisement. For a time, countless shouts resounded. Everyone's eyes were filled with horror, especially the members of the Oaku Pirates, who were trembling more at this moment. Of course, the people in the Whitebeard Pirates are also much better. After all, I have followed Whitebeard for so many years, and I have seen battles between Whitebeard and the other three emperors. Seeing the power between the two parties becoming more and more intense, Ron felt someone grabbing his arm. For a moment, Ron broke out in a cold sweat, and his inner uneasiness reached its ultimate level. Although I don't know who he is, but he can catch himself so quietly, then if he takes action against himself, then. Ron, get out of here. But before Ron could react, Teach's voice rang out in his ears. The next second, Ron felt that his body was out of control, and Teach's powerful force pulled him back quickly. At this moment, a deafening roar resounded. Rumble. Rumble. Following the sound, it can be seen that the area centered on Whitebeard and Oaku began to explode and collapse, and the terrifying power began to directly cause physical attacks to the surrounding areas. It can even be clearly seen that the bodies of the pirates approaching the Moby Dick ship exploded into blood mist at this moment. Whether they were members of the Whitebeard Pirates or the Oaku Pirates, as long as they were attacked by those, if this force affects him, he will definitely die. And within a short period of time, that power had spread to the area where Ron was before. Although it did not directly kill anyone, it also caused those who were unconscious to vomit blood and were obviously seriously injured. So close. Finally, Teach's figure stopped. Taking Ron to a small hill, Teach looked at the area in the distance and said with lingering fear, "We were almost affected, almost 10 o'clock. The fight between Dad and Oaku is too powerful." Teach. Only then did Ron come back to his senses. He glanced at Teach beside him with complicated eyes. He never expected that the latter would actually rescue him at such a moment. Although I don't know what Teach's purpose is, if he had not evacuated just now, there is no doubt that he would have been seriously injured. Thinking of this, Ron suppressed the emotional fluctuations in his heart and said, "Teach, thank you very much. If it weren't for you, I'd be seriously injured." "You are welcome." Laughing, Teach's eyes flashed at this moment. But soon, he concealed his emotions, turned around and looked at Ron with an honest face and said, "Ron, you are the future of our Whitebeard Pirates. How could I let you put yourself in danger? It's a pity that my strength is limited, so I can only bring you out. The others are all injured now, and I'm afraid they won't be able to recover as before in a short time." Hearing this, Ron sighed inwardly. He thought Teach was sincerely saving him. But judging from Teach's words just now, there is no doubt that he had a purpose to save himself, and even had a special plan. For a moment, Ron's original unbearable emotions and heart disappeared in an instant, replaced by a solemn saying, "No matter what, I still have to thank you. By the way, Teach, what's this move between Dad and Oaku? They look amazing. Even if it is Conqueror's entangled collision, it is logically impossible to reach such a point." Ron wasn't kidding at all. Whitebeard and Shanks in the original book launched similar Conqueror's attacks, but they were unable to reach such a level. Even Conqueror's entanglement is technically only a single attack. Why did it suddenly become such a large-scale attack? Chapter 60 Teach's Showdown, Conversation between two actors. Advertisement. Hearing this, Teach glanced at Ron. He knew that he couldn't pretend to know nothing. After all, he had just rescued Ron, and his exposed strength was indeed far beyond what it should have been. It can even be said that the power he has just mobilized is already inferior to some of the captains of the Whitebeard Pirates. Therefore, Ron will definitely doubt him now, and even want to test him. Under such circumstances, he also needs to show his value or even burst out his value. Only in this way can we truly gain Ron's recognition and even prepare and plan for our future plans. That is the highest realm where Conqueror's entanglement lies, the realm of the Overlord. Thinking of this, Teach suddenly said, I'm not sure what the situation is. But I once read in a book that Conquerors can be entangled after reaching the ultimate level, and the level after entangling is the Overlord territory. If haki requires innate existence, then the second awakening is also the most critical existence, no less than the great changes and promotions brought about by Devil Fruit's ability users after they complete their awakening. Dominant territory. Hearing this, Ron's eyes narrowed slightly. This thing does exist in the original work. However, when mentioned in the original work, it was only expressed that Roger awakened the Overlord territory, which resulted in his conquerors being extremely terrifying. In addition, Shanks seems to have awakened. After all, he has lived with Roger, so knowing how to complete it is not difficult. But he never expected that not only Whitebeard controlled the Overlord territory, but even Oaku also controlled it. After all, Oaku in the original work is not an outstanding existence. It only expresses that he is a senior cadre of Rock's pirate, and he is not inferior to Whitebeard, Kaido, and Big Mom. In addition, Armament Haki and Observation Haki also have a second awakening. Seeing Ron deep in thought, Teach on the side raised the corner of his mouth and continued to talk. As far as I know, there are two people who have awakened Armament Haki in the world, Vice Admiral Garp of Naval Headquarters, and Commander Kong of World Government. Their armed colors have surpassed Ultimate and reached a new level after awakening. However, I have never seen such a method. I have only seen the use of more advanced armament haki techniques. It is the emission haki in Wanokuni. It can perform an attack similar to Conqueror's entanglement, but it also has some differences. Place. Can the armed color be awakened a second time? With a raised brow, Ron's expression became solemn. There is no such statement in the original book. It only says that the armed color can cover the whole body after being performed to an advanced level, and then Luffy learns the advanced technique of armed color emission. There is no mention of the power after the second awakening at all. And according to Teach, only Garp and Kong have mastered it in the world. It can be seen that the two people have really reached the ultimate level of training in armed colors. According to the description in the original work, Garp is indeed standing for the ultimate in taijutsu. In the original book, Kong is stronger than Garp. At least when he was young, Haki was the most powerful in Kong's physical skills. Garp, Zephyr, Sengoku, Crane Vice Admiral and others were all his subordinates and disciples. Thinking of this, Ron felt an itch in his heart. Conqueror's ultimate he saw. He also knows about the sexy ultimate. But what exactly is the armed colored ultimate? And what kind of performance does it perform? Advertisement. Garp in the original book was obviously weaker in the later stage, and was even defeated when fighting the Blackbeard Pirates, but he did not show armament haki that surpassed emission. I don't know if it's because I'm too old to use it, or if it's just a trick to get Aokiji to truly gain Blackbeard's trust. As for the second awakening of seeing, hearing, and seeing, I actually know quite a few about this. Before Ron could recover, Teach continued, Katakuri, the general of the four emperors and pirates, has reached the level of his second awakening and can foresee the future. Ability. Roger, the pirate king of the old era, has reached that level of knowledge and can listen to the voices of all things. The Red Earl of the old days was also the owner of the ultimate. His ability was even more special. He could listen to people's voices and had the ability to read minds. He was a legend who was on par with his father and others on his own. Big Pirate. Zero please ask for flowers. Quote. Listening to Teach's story, Ron nodded. Compared to the Conquerors and the Armed Color Ultimate, there are still many owners of the Insight-colored Ultimate in the world. At least the ones he knew were Katakuri and Enel, especially Shinsuna. To be honest, Ron was still extremely greedy. That ability is completely a weakened version of the Red Earl's ability. It can only target beings weaker than himself, but it is already very powerful. Teach. Taking a deep breath, Ron retracted his thoughts. Although he didn't know what Teach was planning, he knew very well that this guy's purpose was dark fruit. He was so friendly with himself, even told himself so much information, and did not hesitate to expose part of his strength. He definitely had a purpose. When he thought of this, Ron asked, "What about you? To be honest, I don't think your power just now is weaker than Captain Sage and others. Why don't you show it? As a member of the Whitebeard Pirates, if you show it, you will definitely be at the captain level." After saying that, Ron stared at Teach with an expression of curiosity, suspicion and confusion. It was as if he had discovered his secret, but also knew what to do. It's done. Teach had a panoramic view of this scene. He was extremely satisfied with Ron's reaction, and it was within his plan. Immediately afterwards, Teach pretended to be hesitant and said, "Actually, I don't want to leave the 4th Division. I have adapted to life in the 4th Division, and I don't have that big ambition, and I can't manage the division well. Team, what I prefer is to live the life I like freely." Ah bah. He vomited inwardly, and Ron wanted to slap him in the face. "Pack, you keep pretending. If I hadn't known what happened next, I would have almost been deceived by you." "I see." Although he was disdainful in his heart, Ron pretended to be enlightened on the surface and said, "To be honest, I also like a free life. Unfortunately, what happened before was too sudden. I'm afraid I won't be able to live so freely, and I may even have to bear greater responsibilities and pressure. Teach, will you help me when the time comes?" Chapter 61 Reaching an agreement to stimulate the awakening of armed color. Advertisement. At this moment, Ron seemed to show his true feelings, looking at Teach with expectation. But this is just acting. After all, this guy Teach deliberately saved himself, and even exposed part of his strength to let himself know that if he didn't show his expression, he might not be able to stabilize this guy. Now we are on the battlefield of Beehive Island, and everyone is fighting with all their strength. No one will pay attention to or know about the situation and things here. If there is a breakup, it will be a simple matter for Teach to kill him. Of course. The corners of his mouth twitched, and Chi's whole body felt bad. He exposed so much in order to recruit Ron, and it could even be said that he wanted to establish a good relationship with him and pave the way for his future plans. But now, Ron actually recruited him in turn, but he couldn't refuse directly, which made him feel extremely aggrieved. "Very good. With your help from D630, Chi, I will definitely be able to live up to my expectations." The corners of Ron's mouth raised, and a smile appeared on Ron's face. He seemed to be extremely happy at this moment, and seemed extremely excited about Teach's promise. Yes. Resisting the urge to slap Ron to death, Teach had to pinch his nose and admit it. After all, this matter has essentially achieved its purpose for him, and there is no doubt that he has received Ron's approval. The only thing that made him unhappy was that he just wanted to hide in the area behind the scenes, but now he had to come out, even exposing part of the Power Emperor. But soon, Teach also calmed down. At this point, he has no choice. He has already agreed to Ron, so he must show his value as soon as possible. Only by showing his own value can Ron be able to rely more on himself and complete his plan. When he thought of this, Teach suddenly said, "Ron, are we going to do something more important? For example, help Marco and others hunt down those senior leaders of the Oaku pirates?" With a raised brow, Ron looked at Teach in surprise. To be honest, he really didn't expect this guy to say such words. Even if he calculated Teach, logically speaking, this guy shouldn't suddenly become like this. But soon, Ron came back to his senses, nodded and said, "Yes, this is naturally necessary. It's a pity that I don't have enough strength, otherwise, I would definitely want to help Marco and other captains to annihilate those guys who dominate the pirate group. But Teach, you have good strength. If you take action, you should be very confident." 27. Having said this, Ron looked at Teach. He didn't know why the latter asked him to hunt down those high-ranking officials of the Oaku pirates. But it is a fact that his own strength is insufficient. If Teach does not take action, he will never take risks foolishly. According to this trend, the battle will not end overnight. And he still has great confidence in Whitebeard. As long as Oaku dies, the other guys will have no value. Certainly. Hearing this, Teach patted his chest and said with confidence, "I will naturally take action on this matter. After all, Ron, your current strength is indeed not very high. The most important thing is that I have a way to help you improve your strength quickly." "Oh. After hearing this, Ron became interested. Rapidly improving his strength, he didn't know what Teach had planned. But if it can really be done, that's good news for Ron. After all, he is only a lieutenant colonel in strength now. Even if he goes all out, he can match Commodore or even kill Commodore. But once he encounters a powerful demon fruit power, or the owner of haki, his ability to leapfrog will be greatly weakened. Advertisement. Thinking of this, Ron suddenly pretended to be excited and said, "What can I do?" Teach, is there any way you can quickly improve your strength? Simple. With a calm smile, Teach said without any nonsense, "I can help you awaken Armament haki. As long as you complete the awakening of the armed color, your strength should be able to reach the level of a colonel or even close to that of a commodore. Coupled with your own fruit ability, the power you can exert will be even more powerful. When the time comes, we will have greater certainty and hope if we help the captains." Awakening weapon color. Something stirred in my heart. Ron couldn't believe it. Conqueror's haki can all be awakened through innateness. But in addition to Conqueror's, armed color and knowledge color can be awakened through acquired methods. Once the strength reaches the general level, you can complete the activation of the knowledge color and the armed color through special training, but this kind of haki is still inferior to the innate awakening, 0. But it is extremely difficult to complete innate awakening, and no one can even control the ability of innate awakening. But Teach actually said that he wanted to help him complete his innate awakening. This was simply unbelievable and even unbelievable. Is this true? Subconsciously, Ron asked. Certainly. Nodding, Teach said confidently, but if you want to complete the innate awakening, you need a kind of stimulation, which will be extremely painful. Ron, can you persist? Pain. Frowning, Ron wasn't sure what Teach meant. Is it really just pain, or is the latter taking this opportunity to kill himself? But now, he seems to have no choice. After all, he plotted against Teach once. If he showed distrust at this time, I'm afraid Teach would not continue to trust him with the truth. Good. After thinking this, Ron suddenly said with a firm expression, "My strength is too weak, I need to become stronger. After all, my situation is different now. I need to become stronger as soon as possible and become the unique being of the Whitebeard Pirates." Teach, I'm sorry to trouble you. Good. After receiving Ron's reply, Teach also smiled at this moment, and his smile was extremely weird. But before Ron could say anything more, Chi 4.9 was already released. It can be seen that he suddenly grabbed Ron's shoulder and said, "Ron, let's start." The next second, Ron felt a surge of ultimate pain coming from his shoulder. Quote. In just a moment, Ron screamed. Under the influence of this force, he could clearly feel the blood boiling in his body. Even under the impact of this force, his body began to rapidly reach the edge of collapse. Damn it! Is this guy going to attack me? For a moment, an idea appeared in Ron's mind, and he subconsciously wanted to break free. Ron. However, before he could take action, Teach's voice sounded out first. Mobilize the power of your own blood and energy to resist this force, and take this opportunity to stimulate Armament haki's awakening. Chapter 62 promoted to Colonel level and awakened armed color. Advertisement. He's not trying to kill me. Hearing this, Ron's heart moved. I thought Teach was going to kill him, but now it seems that is not the case. The latter seems to really want to help him complete Armament haki's awakening. Without hesitation, Ron quickly followed Teach's instructions and began to mobilize the energy and blood in his body to attack Teach's power. Click. Click. For a moment, Ron could clearly feel the sound of breaking inside his body. Under the stimulation of the two forces, his whole body began to overflow with blood, and his body was trembling rapidly. But Teach's power control is extremely subtle, and it only reaches Ron's limit, but never truly transcends the limit. It looked like a serious injury, but with the healing fire of the Phoenix, it was being repaired at this moment, and then continued to be broken under the collision of forces. As time passed, Ron only felt that his spirit was a little trance and addicted. In the process of countless injuries and repairs, his own physical strength was rapidly increasing, and even Devil Fruit's development rate was slowly rising. Break. After an unknown amount of time, Ron suddenly felt a brand new calendar star appear in his body. 20. The moment this power appeared, the power belonging to Teach began to withdraw like a tide. But this power also climbed rapidly, and quickly mixed with his blood. He opened his closed eyes, stretched out his right hand, and a black luster shone brightly. Armament haki directly covered the palm and half of his right hand, wrist area. This is Armament haki. His pupils shrank, and Ron's breathing became rapid. It worked. He actually successfully completed the awakening of the armed color at the school level. Teach, this guy, actually mastered the method that can stimulate people's innate ability to complete the awakening of armed color. As expected of the future Blackbeard, he is indeed an ambitious man who has been hiding for more than 10 years. Blackbeard, you really are no ordinary person. Muttering inwardly, Ron subconsciously called up the copy panel to check. Compared to the awakening of the armed color, what he cares more about at the moment is the improvement of his own strength and the improvement of devil fruit development. Open black lens bracket Ron close black lens bracket open black lens bracket age 14 close black lens bracket strength kernel level open black lens bracket devil fruit Paramecia copy fruit 29% close black lens bracket. Copied ability. Zone bird fruit phantom beast species phoenix form, 33%. Kernel level. Not bad. But why is the fruit development rate only 29% but only 10% short of that? The corner of Ron's mouth twitched, and Ron's eyes showed a hint of disappointment. I thought that my fruit development level could reach 30% this time, so that I could copy the devil fruit for the second time. It's a pity that it's still 1% short. Good. You have just awakened, and your weapon color has reached the entry-level stage. Advertisement at this time, Teach's voice sounded. Looking at the sound, it can be seen that Teach is obviously a little weak at this moment, his face is pale, and he is panting. He looks like he has been through a fierce battle. I don't know if he is real or just pretending. But no matter what, the latter did help him complete the awakening of the armed color, and Ron had to express his gratitude. Thanks Teach. After cupping his fists and giving a salute, Ron said gratefully, I didn't expect that I actually awakened the weapon color, and I was in the entry-level stage all of a sudden. Teach, you are so amazing, you can actually do this. Teach, is your method of activating the weapon color useful for everyone? Hearing this, Teach's face darkened. He roughly knew what Ron was thinking. This guy wanted to help more people complete the awakening of the armed color. Joke. This time he paid a certain price just to gain Ron's recognition and trust and awaken others? That was simply an idiotic act. No more. Thinking of this, Teach suddenly pretended to be weak and said, you can't do this kind of thing too much. I spent a lot of my own armament haki to help you stimulate it. And this kind of stimulation is also extremely dangerous. If you don't have the ability of the phoenix fruit, you are very likely to fail. If you fail, you will be seriously injured or even die. So, when something like this is not appropriate for other people to do. Is that so? Ron nodded thoughtfully, but Ron didn't believe Teach's words. But since the latter is unwilling, he will not force anything. After all, he has already awakened, and the rest is nothing. Thinking of this, Ron immediately said, in that case, what are you waiting for? Let's act now. This battle has been going on for such a long time. We must annihilate those senior cadres of the Oaku pirates as soon as possible. Then we will help Dad kill Wang Na's hometown. 11. Not urgent. Upon hearing this, Teach's mouth twitched. Secretly, Ron was young, but on the surface he also consoled him. I just consumed too much and need to rest for a while. You are no exception. You have just completed the awakening of the armed color, and you need to settle down to fully grasp it. The most important thing is, Ron, can you make a second copy? Having said this, Teach stared at Ron with sharp eyes. He helped Ron so much not just to gain trust, nor just to let Ron awaken his armed color. No, shaking his head, Ron sighed and said, I checked and found that my development has only reached 29,600%, which is just shy of the second copy. But Daddy is still fighting. Even when I'm fighting Oaku, I can't copy his shock fruit. At this point, Ron became wary. He roughly guessed what Teach was thinking about. This guy wants him to copy some devil fruit, but it's definitely not shock fruit. Although he didn't know why, he vaguely felt that this guy seemed to want to prevent him from obtaining the power of shock fruit. After all, the next time you copy, you have to develop the copied fruit to 60%, which cannot be accomplished overnight. If something unexpected happened along the way, it would be unclear whether he would be able to obtain the power of Whitebeard's shock fruit, and he would not give up foolishly. Not even close? Frowning, Teach didn't look very good at the moment. He really didn't expect that after all the effort he put into helping Ron complete the awakening of his weapon color, he still hadn't reached the point where he could make a second copy. After pondering for a while, Teach said, "How about I try to help you awaken your sense of sight? That should be enough by then. There is a devil fruit whose ability is very outstanding, even comparable to Dad's shock fruit." Chapter 63 Insight into Teach Plan, Paramecia Amplification Fruit. Advertisement. What's the situation? Not inferior to the power of shock fruit. With a raised brow, Ron looked at Teach in surprise, frowned and said, "Are you sure? Is there really something as good as shock fruit? But I have generally seen the battles in the field. Whether it is the people of our Whitebeard Pirates or the people of the Oaku Pirates. Their devil fruit abilities are not comparable to shock fruit." At the same time, Ron had a vague suspicion in his heart. Raise GU. Teach is raising GU. And this GU is himself, his own copied fruit. Although I don't know the specific rules and circumstances for dark fruit to seize devil fruit, judging from Teach's behavior, I am afraid that it can directly seize the powers obtained by ability users. Otherwise, during the Summit War in the original book, Blackbeard launched air shock directly after seizing the shock fruit. That was shock fruit's ultimate move. Nodding, Teach said without any nonsense, even a little eagerly. "I noticed before, that guy is still weak, only at the Vice Admiral level. He also didn't really use his devil fruit power, which also resulted in him not being considered a senior cadre within the Oaku Pirates. If you can get it, your strength will be greatly improved by then, and even more powerful when combined with the power of shock fruit in the future." Really, this guy is eyeing some devil fruit ability. He didn't dare to reveal his ability to directly seize the devil fruit, so he wanted me to get it. If he gets the dark fruit in the future, he would attack me and seize it directly. Thinking of this, Ron felt depressed in his heart, but on the surface he asked calmly, "What kind of fruit ability is it? What special abilities do you have?" "Paramecia Amplification Fruit." Without giving away, Teach said with piercing eyes. "Once you master the power of this fruit, you can increase yourself in all directions. Every time you develop 10% of yourself, you will get 10 times the full range. By analogy, you can increase it before reaching awakening. The point where you can improve your own all-roundness by 90 times. Although it is not very strong in the early stage, the power of this fruit will become stronger in the later stage, and it will be of great use and value to you in the future. If you copy shock fruit when you reach Marco's stage, you can even explode with power that is not inferior to Dad. How about it, are you interested?" After saying that, Leech looked at Gu Ron. He wanted this devil fruit himself, but unfortunately, without the dark fruit, he couldn't guarantee 100% capture, so he had to settle for the next best thing and let Ron copy it first. "If you find it in the future, that's fine, but if you don't find it, then..." Paramecia Amplification Fruit. Hasn't it been developed to increase all attributes by 10% by 10 times? There is such a magical devil fruit in this world? Shocked in his heart, Ron had to admit that his heart was moved. Although he knew that all this was Teach's plan, he couldn't resist the temptation. Compared to those with the amplification fruit ability who are destined to die, Whitebeard will definitely be able to persist for a while. The most important thing is that Morgans and Whitebeard reached a deal before and have obtained the whereabouts and information of the pure gold. Advertisement. Teach doesn't know this. If pure gold can be obtained and given to Whitebeard, then Whitebeard can stop decay and aging, and his own strength will quickly return to its peak. As a result, nothing can happen to Whitebeard in a short period of time. Even if he really follows the original route, he still has nearly 2 years to prepare. It is not difficult to complete 60% of the development rate. "I see." Taking a deep breath, Ron looked at Teach and said, "I promise." But are you sure you can succeed in helping me awaken my knowledge? And if I awaken to see the color, my devil fruit development level can reach 30%? Certainly, seeing Ron's heartbeat, Teach smiled. Although helping him develop haki is to help the enemy, and may even cause trouble by raising a tiger. But for his own plan, Teach no longer cares so much, and he even doesn't think Ron can threaten him in the future. After all, the limit of the copied fruit is there, and the copied ability cannot be awakened, which means that his limit will be locked and he will not be able to reach the ultimate in the true sense. On the other hand, if he succeeds by then, everything about Ron will belong to him, and there is no need to worry about anything. Thinking of this, Teach suddenly said, although it takes some energy and may even make me weak for a period of time, it is enough to be able to help you. As I said before, I will help you quickly become stronger and become a qualified heir. Hearing this, Ron smiled. Already aware of Teach's plan, he was not panicked at all at this moment. You have a good plan and I have a wall ladder. It is still unclear who will win when the time comes. When he thought of this, Ron immediately said, if so, then I'll trouble you, Teach. That guy probably won't last long. I hope we can finish it as soon as possible. Good. Hearing this, Teach also nodded. At this point, he didn't care what he was pretending to do. After all, as Ron said, the situation of the person with the ability to increase the fruit was not good at the moment. Although he is at the Vice Admiral level, his degree of development of the fruit is obviously not high, which also means that he is clearly no match for the squad leader at the moment. If he delays, he will probably die and be unable to copy the opponent's ability. Thinking of this, Teach stepped forward again and grabbed Ron's shoulders and said, then I'll start. Ron, hold on. This time, I'm stimulating your head. Zhao got it. The next second, Ron felt that irresistible force sweeping over him again, aiming directly at his head. For a moment, the severe pain made Ron extremely uncomfortable. While his whole body was shaking violently, Conqueror's haki began to gradually spread. Suppress me. Seeing this, Teach frowned and without hesitation mobilized his Conquerors to suppress this force. This time he wanted to open up Ron's knowledge. If this failed due to Conqueror's participation, it would be a real loss. Under such circumstances, he didn't care about exposing anything. After all, he and Ron had reached an agreement, and he also believed that after this incident, Ron would not reveal too much information about himself. Soon, Ron's Conquerors was suppressed in a corner area, and then, Haki, who belonged to Teach, continued to attack Ron's mind. Chapter 64. Awakening to See and Hear Color, developed to 30%. Advertisement, unparalleled pain. Ron felt like his head was about to explode under the influence of this force. But he couldn't resist it at the moment. The force was so powerful that he had no resistance. Damn it! Why is the awakening color so much more painful than the armed color? The pain in the physical body is really not as good as the pain in the head. Cursing inside, Ron felt helpless and aggrieved. But at this moment, it is impossible for him to stop. As Teach said before, once you start, there is no possibility or opportunity to stop. As time passed, Ron became completely numb. It was as if the whole person was restricted by some kind of force at this moment, with no ability to resist or resist at all. Buzzing, I don't know how long it took, but a new power suddenly emerged in Ron's mind. The moment that force appeared, the pain in his head began to slow down at a speed visible to the naked eye. For a moment, Ron's spirits brightened. With the lessons learned from the past, he now roughly knew what was going on. Because of 90's situation, his inner emotions at this moment were extremely exciting. After all, with the awakening of seeing, hearing, and color, his goal has been accomplished. Not surprisingly, Teach seemed to have noticed that his power was also shrinking rapidly at this moment. Under such circumstances, the emotions emerged completely, filling Ron's mind at a speed visible to the naked eye. Open, with a low growl, Ron's closed eyes opened at this moment. At this moment, vast power swept out directly. In just a moment, Ron was full of energy, and his awakening directly made his own strength greatly improved again. In an instant, Ron could clearly feel that his strength had increased tenfold at this moment. It was as if his whole person had been completely transformed at this moment, completely different from what he had been before. Without any hesitation, Ron quickly called up the copy panel to check. After all, according to what Teach said before, when you awaken your knowledge color and weapon color, your own strength will be improved, and the development rate of your own copy fruit will also be improved. Open black lens bracket Ron close black lens bracket open black lens bracket age 14 close black lens bracket strength CACG Commodore open black lens bracket devil fruit Paramecia copy fruit 37% close black lens bracket copied ability zone bird fruit phantom beast species phoenix form 42% number of copies 1. Oh my god, how could it improve so much? After reading the information on the copy panel, Ron couldn't help but shrink his pupils. You know, although the previous awakening of the armed color also improved his development level. But the actual improvement is not big. In the final analysis, it cannot be considered a too powerful improvement. But now, with the awakening of knowledge, the degree of development has suddenly increased so much. Advertisement. This is simply unbelievable, even unbelievable. By the way, he's a general. After a while, Ron came back to his senses and said thoughtfully, my strength has reached the general level. This is the key to greatly improving my development level. Just the awakening of the sight color should be similar to the previous awakening of the armed color. More development improvements, in the final analysis, are because I have entered the general level and all my attributes have increased by more than 10 times, which is why I am like this. In an instant, Ron figured out the reason for this. Ron, how's it going? At this time, Teach on the side asked. He had already felt the change in Ron's aura and knew that he had entered the general level. Because of this, he was still extremely excited at the moment. After all, according to his previous plan, once this matter is perfected, Ron can copy the ability of the Paramecia amplification fruit at this moment. Already done. After coming back to his senses, Ron calmed down his inner emotions, looked at Teach beside him and said, Teach, thank you very much. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have been able to complete Conqueror's haki's awakening before becoming a general. Not only that, I clearly feel that my knowledge, and appearance are at the stage of the world, and I don't need to go through any training and tempering at all. Having said this, Ron cupped his fist and saluted Teach. Although this is just an exchange of interests between the two parties, it can even be said to be part of the latter's calculation of himself. But no matter what, if it weren't for Teach, it would be impossible for him to complete the awakening of the sight color and the armed color so quickly. This kind of innate awakening is much smoother and more powerful than haki's awakening through self-cultivation the day after tomorrow, and it also greatly improves his future potential. Therefore, no matter what, the gratitude that should be given cannot be reduced. You're welcome. With an honest smile, Teach said calmly, it would be great if I could help you. After all, this is my first time trying such a thing. Speaking of which, the risks involved are huge. If it fails, then I will be the sinner. Hearing this, Ron shrugged. He knew that Teach dared to do this only when he was absolutely sure. But his current reaction is undoubtedly because he wants to refuse his future invitation. After all, Ron had said before that he wanted him to awaken haki to others. Even if he really mastered it, Teach would not be able to really use up his own resources to help others, and he might even be an unfamiliar existence. For Teach, if you don't have enough potential and value, then it's impossible for him to be pleasant and flattering to you. It is indeed dangerous. Thinking of this, Ron immediately followed Teach's words and said, I felt like I almost died several times. To be honest, I feel a little lucky to be able to survive. If possible, if you can't awaken innately, then the most stable thing is to work hard to activate the two-color haki the day after you reach the general level. But I have now reached the general level. Although I am still only at the Commodore level, my strength is not comparable to before. Teach, what about you? What level are you at now? The power you showed before is not inferior to Captain Saki and others. You must be at the general stage, right? Having said this, Ron looked at Teach with bright eyes, looking like a curious baby. No, hearing this, Teach quickly waved his hand and denied it. Joke. If he really admits that he has star-level strength, then there is really no possibility or hope of lurking. Thinking of this, Teach suddenly said, "My strength is at the Vice Admiral level. If I go all out, I should be able to reach the elite Vice Admiral stage, but it is still far behind the General Star level. And I'm not good at fighting. Although I have strength, my fighting ability is weaker than people of the same realm." Chapter 65 Teach's suggestion, locking the copy target. Advertisement. Hearing this, Ron laughed. "Vice Admiral level? You are a liar. The man who can leave scars on the face of 4 emperors' red-haired shanks is not only at the level of the Admiral and 4 emperors, but at least the level of the Emperor's deputy." The most important thing is that Teach is still incompetent. It can be seen from this that his physical skills and poisonous energy are so extraordinary. In the original book, Ace was able to fight with him for such a long time. To be honest, it was probably because of his indiscretion. After all, from the beginning, Teach's plan was to capture Luffy, not Ace. It was only because he was forced by Ace that Teach chose to capture Ace in exchange for Shichibukai's position, which triggered a series of subsequent summit war situations. That's pretty awesome too. I don't even know how long it will take to reach this point. Although he knew it in his heart, Ron didn't mean to point it out. Instead, he said longingly, "Although I have also entered the general level, I can feel that the subsequent promotion is extremely difficult. Teach, do you have any other quick fixes? I also want to reach the Vice Admiral level as soon as possible." This is no joke. Ron really needed to become stronger. After all, he is now the heir of Whitebeard in the eyes of outsiders, and the danger of going out in the future is extremely huge. Therefore, if you want to have the power of self-protection in the true sense, you must at least reach the Vice Admiral level. With the power of the Devil Fruit copied by yourself, you will have the possibility of advancing and retreating freely. Such as Ace. In the original book, this guy was at the Vice Admiral level. With the protection of Mara Fruit and Whitebeard, he was prosperous in the New World. The current Ace may not have reached that stage yet, but his strength is stronger. After all, Ace has obtained the world government version of the 6 styles and has begun to practice Jinch and even the 3-color thunder energy. It depends on your choice of your future path. After glancing at Ron, Teach explained patiently like the big brother next door. After reaching the general level, your strength will undergo earth-shaking changes every time you advance to a level. And if you want to become stronger quickly, you need to make a choice, such as physical skills, haki, swordsmanship, sniper skills, etc. You need to choose one method as your main method and continue to cultivate it to the ultimate level, so that your own strength will become stronger and stronger. For example, Captain Marco, his route is to prove his success. Captain Josie's training focuses on ability and haki. Captain Beasta is mainly focused on swordsmanship and haki. What you need to do is to choose 1 or 2 major methods, constantly improve them, make them stronger, master them, and even turn them into your own strength. Hearing this, Ron was thoughtful. Ability, haki, and physical skills are all things he urgently needs to become stronger now. Although he mastered the power of the Phoenix, the world government version of the 6 styles, he even awakened Conqueror's haki. But there is no doubt that these have only reached the entry-level stage, and have not reached the level of Grandmaster at all. It is still very difficult to truly form combat effectiveness. In addition, Whitebeard also told him before that if he wanted to perfectly match the power of Shock Fruit, it would be best to learn swordsmanship or even practice swordsmanship to a certain level. To a certain extent, in Ron's opinion, it must at least meet the standards of a great swordsman. Otherwise, what if it can carry the powerful power of Shock Fruit? Advertisement. Therefore, he will need to practice in more directions in the future, and even the difficulties will become more and more huge, and there will be more places where he needs to work hard. I see. Taking a deep breath, Ron immediately said, "Haki, next I will focus on practicing haki and physical skills. After I have cultivated these 2 to a certain level, I will continue to develop my abilities, or learn other methods such as swordsmanship." Upon hearing this, Teach narrowed his eyes. Ron's choice is undoubtedly the best choice. After all, whether you are an ability user or a taijutsu or swordsman, the fundamentals are still based on your own foundation and physique, and taijutsu and haki are one of the necessary conditions to become a top powerhouse. Thinking of this, Teach suddenly said, "This is very good." Many people make this choice after reaching general level. It's really about abilities, unless you have truly top-notch devil fruit abilities. Although your Phoenix ability is not weak, to be honest, it still has some flaws in nature. Its biggest drawback is its inability to awaken. There is really no need to waste too much time learning and practicing in the early stage. 0. Please ask for flowers. On the contrary, it is Taishu and Haki. These are the most basic and critical abilities. If you practice them, you will be even more powerful. According to the information I have received, it is most suitable to first practice taijutsu and haki to the level of Vice Admiral, and then learn other methods and develop abilities. After receiving Teach's affirmation, Ron breathed a sigh of relief. After all, what he has is just foresight, but Teach also has a genuine strong heart. In a sense, when the entire Whitebeard Pirates have given up their abilities, Teach is definitely the strongest person after Whitebeard. Of course, if we count his ability, Teach at this moment is not enough to reach this point. At least when facing Marco, he is not absolutely sure. 0. When he thought of this, Ron looked at Teach, then it's decided. Teach, thank you for your tip. But my abilities have been refreshed, and I can still copy them again. Where is the guy with the amplification fruit? Let's go there quickly. Good. Hearing this, Teach also reacted. Without any hesitation, he looked at an area and said, "Follow me." That guy is fighting with Izo right now. If we rush over quickly, we should be able to save his life. There is no doubt about Captain Yizang's strength. That guy won't last long. After beating him until he loses his resistance, you can complete the copy of his ability. As he spoke, Teach moved forward quickly. Ron didn't hesitate and followed quickly. It's just that he didn't care about Teach's existence at this moment, but his eyes quickly searched for her. Soon, Ron found the area where Izo was. You can see that in the area opposite him, there is a strong man who is 3.5 meters tall, with bulging muscles, a bald head, and blue veins popping out, fighting with him. This guy is not weak. Armament haki has reached a high level, and the powerful armament haki has covered all areas of his body. Even Yizang's sniper attacks have little effect on him. At this moment, those who are being pursued are losing ground. Chapter 66 Izo's Defeat, Ron's Rescue Advertisement. So possible, Izo quickly retreated a distance, stretched out his hand to wipe the blood from the corner of his mouth, and looked a little unbelievable for a moment. "You guy, how could your strength increase so much in an instant? Wolf, what devil fruit did you eat?" At this moment, Yizang's face looked extremely ugly. Originally, he had the absolute initiative before, and it could even be said that the hungry wolf in front of him was no match for him at all. But how long has it been? In just over half an hour, this guy's strength has improved so much all of a sudden. This is simply unbelievable and even unbelievable. Haha, Yizang, you didn't expect it, you are no longer my opponent now. The evil wolf was also a little crazy at the moment. To be honest, he didn't expect that he could be promoted on the spot. Moreover, he knew the effect of his 297 devil fruit, and this time the improvement was directly increased by 10 times. This directly led to the fact that his strength, which was originally only close to the elite vice admiral, has now reached the level of a general star. And Yizang himself has not reached the level of a general, and he is still a sniper. His own close combat methods are not too strong. Because of this also led to the fact that Yizang is no match for him now. It can even be said that the current situation has been completely reversed, and he is the one with the absolute advantage. When he thought of this, Hungry Wolf couldn't help but lick the blood on the corner of his mouth, and then said coldly, "Yizang, the day you are imprisoned is the day you die. I will let you pay for the shame you suffered back then with your own life today." After saying that, the evil wolf sped out with great speed and attacked Yizang fiercely. Damn it! Damn it! Seeing this situation, Yizang's face suddenly became extremely ugly. After all, under such circumstances, he really couldn't do anything about this guy. Seeing the evil wolf attacking, he quickly raised his hand and pulled the trigger. Bang bang bang! In an instant, gunshots rang out, and bullets flew out quickly and directly hit the wolf's body. But something unexpected happened. Previously, the bullets covering Armament haki were able to break the Hungry Wolf's defense and even injure it. But at this moment, the strength of the evil wolf has been greatly improved, which directly caused Izo's attack to lose its value. Even the bullets covering Armament haki were unable to break the defense on his body. The next second, the figure of the evil wolf appeared in the area in front of Yi Zhang. "Go to hell, wolf fist." With a low growl, the evil wolf waved its hands violently. In an instant, fist marks appeared all over the sky, attacking Yi Zhang's body in a steady stream. Bang bang bang. In an instant, Izo became a living target, floating in midair. A steady stream of punches hit him. Even though he was covered and protected by weapons, he couldn't hold on. Ah! Screams resounded, and Izo's figure was shot away like a kite with a broken string. After it hit the ground hard, its figure directly drew a distance of tens of meters before stopping, and even smashed several large rocks on the way. But at this moment, Yi Zhang was already seriously injured. He struggled to stand up from the ground. His whole body was covered with fist marks and bloodstains, and he looked extremely embarrassed and miserable. Damn it! What's going on with this guy? At this moment, Yi Zhang's face turned pale. Seeing the hungry wolf walking towards him with a ferocious smile, he felt bad all over. He never expected that this weak guy would suddenly become so much stronger, even to the point where he could not match him. And in this manner, once he loses, many of the captains of the Whitebeard Pirates will not be his opponents. Advertisement: if you can't stop yourself, then I'm afraid more people will be attacked by this guy, then. Can't believe it, you think my power can't do anything to you? What, my fruit ability is not comparable to yours. Walking forward with a ferocious smile, the evil wolf had now arrived at the area where Yi was. Looking at the scarred figure at this moment, murderous intent flashed in his eyes, and he raised his hand to launch a fatal attack on Izo. Lan Yan Fire Fist. At the critical moment, a low roar sounded. The next second, dark blue flames fell from the sky, turning into a huge fist and hitting the area where the wolf was. This is those who can. Looking at the attacking fire fist, the evil wolf frowned and subconsciously pulled back for a distance. Bang! The sound of explosion resounded, and the area where the evil wolf was directly exploded into a large pit. Dark blue flames burned in it, and the scorching temperature began to spread. 0. Who? Glancing at the big hole on the ground, the wolf looked towards the area not far away and roared. "Captain Izo, are you okay?" At this time, Ron's shouts resounded. It can be seen that his figure fell from the sky and landed in the area next to Izo. Healing fire. Immediately afterwards, Ron quickly raised his hand to activate the healing fire and began to heal his injuries without hesitation. "Ron, why are you here?" At this point, Yi Zhang came back to his senses. Looking at Ron standing next to him, a trace of emotion flashed in his eyes. After all, he almost died just now, even the closest to death. But it only took a moment for Yi Zhang to come back to his senses. Thinking of Ron's strength, his expression changed and he almost said, "Let's go. This guy's strength has reached the level of a general. You are no match for him. Get out of here quickly." Supernova Ron. Whitebeard's heir. It's you, little brat. At the same time, the evil wolves had also seen Ron's figure and confirmed his identity. In an instant, the evil wolf's face darkened, and he gritted his teeth and said, "I was actually deceived by you, little brat." Thinking of the attack just now, he thought it was Marco, but he didn't expect it to be a brat like Ron. Although he is the heir to Whitebeard, there is no doubt about his potential. But it doesn't mean that Ron's 5.2 strength at the moment is completely unable to pose a threat to himself. When he thought of this, the evil wolf suddenly said, "Now that we are here, none of you can leave alive." "Captain Izo, don't worry." Seeing this situation, Ron was very indifferent. So what if he reaches the general star level? He really doesn't think he will fail. It's not because of recognition of the strength of himself and Yi Zhang, but because Teach has also arrived. However, thinking that Teach would not expose too much on his own initiative, Ron immediately looked at Yi Zhang and said, "Captain, just leave it to us. Sit down and heal your wounds peacefully." After saying that, Ron directly increased the power of the healing fire without giving Izo a chance to refute. In an instant, dark blue flames enveloped it, and Izo could not help but close his eyes and sit down to start repairing. Chapter 67 Teach takes action and instantly kills the General Star Wolf. Advertisement, call. Seeing Yi Zhang fall into a state of recovery and closing his eyes, Ron immediately breathed a sigh of relief. Then, he looked at Teach aside and said, "Teach. Give it to me." Hearing this, Teach didn't know what Ron meant. After taking a look at Yi Zhang, he found that the latter's current condition would be unable to recover and wake up within a short period of time. In addition, Ron was still continuously activating the healing fire, so Izo could not wake up without a complete recovery. But with the speed of the healing fire, Azong's injuries seemed quite serious, but in fact it didn't take too long to recover as before. It must be resolved quickly. Thinking of this, Teach's eyes flashed. At this point, he didn't care whether he was exposed or not. After all, Ron has been completely exposed before, which means that he can't continue to pretend to be a pig and eat the tiger. The most important thing is that Saki, Ron and others are now demon fruit power. Among the people he is friends with, it is impossible for people who own devil fruit to swallow dark fruit. When the time comes, the possibility of finding dark fruit will be greater with the help of the 20 power of this group of people. If you want to get the dark fruit, you must show your worth. Ron is the best choice. After all, as the heir of Whitebeard, it will be much easier for him to help inquire about information in the future and even seize the dark fruit. Not to mention that he also plans to raise GU and let Ron copy the devil fruit according to his needs, and then completely steal it in one fell swoop. When he thought of this, Teach appeared in the area in front of the wolf in a flash and said, "Your opponent is me." Where did this guy come from? Glancing at Teach, the wolf's eyes flashed with disdain. Although he sensed Teach's aura, he didn't recognize him, which meant that he was not the captain of the Whitebeard Pirates, and his strength was really not enough for him to pay attention to and care about. Thinking of this, the evil wolf's eyes flashed with murderous intent, and he said, "No matter who you are, my path is to seek death. I'll kill you first, then Ron, and finally that damn guy Izo. Go to hell, Langya Fung Fung Fist." With a loud roar, the evil wolf rushed out without hesitation, waving his fists continuously, and his momentum burst out like a wind wolf, attacking the area where Teach was coming. Seeing this, Ron narrowed his eyes. He knew that Teach was about to take action. This guy has changed his strategy, which also means that he won't hide too much. Although he won't show the strength of an emperor's deputy, he won't care too much about the strength of a general. Under such circumstances, he was really curious about how Teach should deal with the evil wolf. After all, it can be seen from the situation just now that the evil wolf's strength has indeed reached the general level after its improvement. Otherwise it would not be possible for Yi Zhang to be seriously injured or even nearly die. Little tricks. Under Ron's gaze, Teach also flashed murderous intent at this moment. Looking at the attacking wolf, even though it was huge, there was no fear at all. Seeing his figure arriving, Teach suddenly raised his hand. It can be seen that his arm was instantly covered by armament haki, and it still showed dark red armament haki. The black tiger takes out the heart. With just one grab, Teach's arm instantly pierced the wolf's chest, and the wind wolf that originally pounced on Teach collapsed. How is that possible? Advertisement, your power, your haki. Lowering his head and looking at the chest area, the wolf's aura instantly became weak. But his eyes were still wide and staring at Teach in disbelief. Your power is Emperor. Get some sleep. However, before he could finish speaking, Teach took the lead. He raised his left hand and hit the wolf on the neck. Without any accident, the evil wolf passed out immediately. Coupled with the injury that penetrated his chest, his breath was dissipating rapidly at this moment, and it was obvious that he would not be able to survive for long. Hiss, so strong. Seeing this scene, Ron couldn't help but take a breath. He knew before that this guy should not be underestimated, and he knew even more that Teach was extremely powerful. But he never expected it to be so terrifying. What a terrifying power this is to kill a general-level pirate in one blow. What a terrifying strength this is. Viceroy, damn it. Even if this guy doesn't get the dark fruit, there is a 100% chance that he will be at the admiral level. Although overall, 4 emperors is higher than admiral, it doesn't go beyond that by much. With Blackbeard's current strength, if he really went out to do it alone, he would be a big pirate of Ochaku's level at least, and the bounty would be at least over 1.5 billion belly. It can be said that if he really pulls a team, even without eating devil fruit, it may become the 5th act. Ron, at this time, Teach also turned around, the coldness and indifference on his face disappeared, replaced by a simple and honest smile. Come on, this guy is already unconscious and has lost his resistance. Under such circumstances, he is in a state of absolute cooperation, and you can copy the power of the fruit in his body. Okay. After coming back to his senses, Ron was even more afraid of Nanchi. But at this moment, he still pretended to be shocked and happy, ended the output of the healing fire, turned around and ran towards the area where Teach was. Soon, he came to the area where the evil wolf was. As Teach said, the hungry wolf at this moment indeed has no possibility of resistance. For a moment, Ron didn't hesitate, squatted down, reached out and grabbed the ladder's head, and said, "Copy it to me." The next second, Ron immediately activated the ability to copy the fruit and began to copy the power of the Paramecia amplification fruit in his body. It's done. Seeing this, the corners of Teach's mouth rose. The powerful amplification fruit ability was finally copied by Ron. Although it doesn't belong to you now, it doesn't mean that the future doesn't belong to you. Thinking of this, Teach subconsciously took out an apple from his arms and said secretly with a flash of light in his eyes, "I hope I can get it directly. In that case, I don't need to take action against my favorite vice captain." Cough cough cough. At this time, Yizang's coughing sound resounded. Following the sound, it can be seen that after the healing fire on his body dissipated, he opened his eyes and stood up. Although the injury has not recovered at this moment, his complexion has become rosy, and even the dented and injured areas on his body have recovered. According to the current trend, although he is weak, he is essentially fine. Chapter 68 Copying the Amplification Fruit, Yizang's Shock. Advertisement, what's the situation? Wolf, why did he fall? Looking around, Yizang's pupils shrank and he stared at the unconscious hungry wolf on the ground, his eyes full of incredible and unbelievable emotions. After all, he knew very well how powerful the evil wolf was. How long did it take for me to recover? How could this guy be defeated, or even lie dead? Ron, Teach. Immediately afterwards, Izo's eyes wandered between Ron and Teach, and then locked on Teach. Teach, you did it. Although it is a question, it is more of a certainty. After all, Ron was still healing him just now, so it was impossible to kill the wolf in an instant. The only possibility is for Teach to take action, but Teach has not shown much power in the Whitebeard Pirates for so many years, so how could? Yes, Captain Izo, Nanji did not hide this. From the moment he chose to take action, many things could no longer be changed. Moreover, he has not found what he needs after so many years of dormancy. Now he also wants to change his thinking, or to change his chosen goal. After all, he was extremely excited when he saw the cloned fruit. Unfortunately, Ron ate it first, otherwise he would have stabbed Thatch in the back that night, or asked for it directly. However, Teach did not show any intention of being too powerful. Instead, he said with a simple smile, "Actually, this guy is already at the end of his strength. Captain Izo's previous attack had already seriously injured him. This allowed me to quickly and successfully attack. After all, this guy didn't even dare to touch Ron's flame before." As soon as these words came out, Yizang fell silent. Seriously injured? He believed this before. After all, the evil wolf was indeed no match for him at the beginning, which also led to him being beaten to the brink of death. However, as the evil wolf's fruit ability was further developed, his own strength suddenly increased more than 10 times, which led to his subsequent overturn and even nearly being killed. And this guy was indeed afraid of Ron's attack before, and Ron's strength itself is not strong. If he is even afraid of his attack, it is indeed possible that he is an outsider, as Teach said. But to be honest, the possibility of this was too low, and he didn't really agree with it. But looking at Teach's serious expression, Yizang had to wonder if his idea was wrong. "No, that's not right." Suddenly, Yi Zhang seemed to have thought of something and suddenly looked at Ron on the ground and said, "Ron, what are you doing? Don't waste your talent." At this moment, Yi Zhang's expression changed drastically. Regardless of thinking about the authenticity of Teach's words, he quickly stepped forward to stop Ron. He could not deny that Evil Wolf's devil fruit looked good, but after all, it was a devil fruit that did not appear. If Ron wasted his copying times, that would not be good news. After all, according to the information previously obtained, Ron can only copy the devil fruit 3 times in his life. Advertisement. Except for the initial phoenix fruit, the Whitebeard Pirates have almost all arranged it, which is Whitebeard's shock fruit, and then it will be combined with a powerful Logia devil fruit. But what now? To waste such precious number of copies on an unknown Paramecia, to be honest, it is indeed a bit cruel. Captain Izo, seeing this, Teach's expression changed, and he stood in front of Izo in a flash and said, "No. Ron has started copying, please don't interrupt. And this is a choice made after careful consideration. This guy's devil fruit is not simple. In a sense, it's even more suitable for Ron. Once destroyed, this guy won't be able to hold on for too long. It will be difficult for Ron to completely copy his fruit ability." "What? More suitable for Ron?" Raising his eyebrows, Izo frowned and looked at Teach. "Isn't it comparable to Dad's Chingsai fruit? Is it comparable to the powerful Logia?" "Teach, Ron only has 3 chances, how could you let him waste it like this?" The previous Phoenix fruit was just that. After all, Ron did need the ability of the Phoenix at that time, but now. "Captain Izo." Looking at Izu who was glaring at him, Teach explained helplessly, "This guy's devil fruit is Paramecia amplification fruit. I have seen its existence in the Devil Fruit Illustrated book. Even the last time it appeared was 300 years ago. Its value is extremely huge, even far exceeding the existence of most Logias. Although Ron's copy is very good, it cannot copy Logia's elementalization. Compared with the incomplete Logia, this fruit's ability is the most suitable." Backquote. After all, we all know that the copied devil fruit cannot be awakened by the copied fruit. Logia has not awakened. To be honest, it is not as good as the devil fruit planted by Zone in ancient times. Hearing this, Yi Zhang raised his eyebrows, frowned and said, "Amplification fruit. What else is there to say? Teach me about the devil fruit that appeared 300 years ago." No rejection or veto. Yi Zhang gradually calmed down at this moment. Although I don't know the specific effect of the amplification fruit, Teach is so confident, which shows that it is definitely not simple. Good. After agreeing, Teach did not refuse. At least Izo didn't continue to stop it, which was good news. Thinking of this, Teach suddenly said, "The amplification fruit is the existence of top-notch Paramecia devil fruit such as shock fruit and lion fruit. Beings with the amplification fruit can increase their own all-round attributes 10 times, Li Liao Jiao, such as speed, strength, physique, defense and vitality without developing 10% of the development rate. Developing it to 100%, even if it cannot be awakened, it can increase all its attributes 100 times. It can be said that in a sense, it surpasses the existence of Paramecia Momo fruit, and can even be called his superior fruit. After all, each activation of the Momo fruit is a single one, but the ability to amplify the fruit always exists and will not even be reduced." Gouda. After listening to Teach's words, Yi Zhang couldn't help but swallow his saliva at this moment. Each stage increases all attributes by 10 times, reaching the ultimate level and even increasing all attributes by 100 times. This is such a shocking and terrifying ability. Then, he seemed to have thought of something, and looked at the hungry wolf on the ground and said, no wonder this guy was a vice admiral before, but in the blink of an eye he exploded with strength that is not inferior to that of a general. I see, that's it, I see. Chapter 69 Successful Duplication, Tenfold Increase, Midterm Commodore. Advertisement. At this moment, Yi Zhang's eyes were full of envy. I thought this guy was eating junk devil fruit, but I didn't expect him to be so powerful. According to Teach, all attributes are increased 100 times, which is completely more powerful than the Momo fruit. You know, Momo fruit is the top Paramecia devil fruit, and even the name of World Destroyer is almost based on Momo fruit. The value of this amplification fruit is even higher than that of the Momo fruit. Even if it is not as good as the shock fruit, it is almost the same, surpassing most Logia ability users. At least in his opinion, without elementalization, Logia cannot compare to it when copied. When he thought of this, Yizang's inner eagerness also dissipated, and he said, "That's good. That's good. As long as it doesn't destroy Ron's potential, then nothing is a problem. And Ron can continue to copy it, and finally he can copy Dad's shock fruit." Hearing this, Teach also breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, I have convinced Yi Zhang, otherwise, I am afraid that the latter will intervene and disrupt his plan. Thinking of this, Teach immediately said, "Yes, that's why Ron chose him. After all, once this amplification fruit is developed to a certain extent, it can quickly increase Ron's strength. 473's dozens of times improvement in all attributes can directly allow Ron to reach the level of a vice admiral or even an elite vice admiral in a short period of time. In this way, all he needs to do is focus on taijutsu, haki's training, and he will easily reach the level of an admiral. Then he can copy his father's shock fruit and become a quasi-admiral in one leap. Even the combat effectiveness of the Emperor's deputy level. Although it may be more difficult to reach the 4 Emperors level like Dad in the future, it also greatly reduces the time and difficulty of Ron's rise. It is the best choice for him who has already exposed his identity. As soon as these words came out, they immediately aroused Yizang's approval. If Ron hadn't become the Whitebeard heir before, he would have had enough time to develop. But now Ron is known to the whole world as the heir of Whitebeard, and the danger facing him in the future is extremely huge. Therefore, at this moment, Ron really needs to become stronger as soon as possible, and even let his strength reach the point where he can truly protect himself. When he thought of this, Yi Zhang didn't say anything, but looked at Ron with piercing eyes and murmured, "I don't know if this guy's devil fruit can explode. I remember that the devil fruit will randomly regenerate after the death of a person with abilities. I wonder if there is any hope that I can get it." As he spoke, Yi Zhang took out some apples, bananas, and oranges from his arms and placed them on the ground without hesitation. Although the possibility of getting it this way was very low, he still wanted to give it a try. After all, through the conversation just now, he already knew the power and terror of this amplification fruit. Seeing this, Teach's mouth twitched. He never expected that Yizang would use similar methods. He also wanted to try to see if he could cut off the Hu-enhancing fruits, but he didn't expect that this guy Yi Zhang actually had so many fruits in his arms. For a moment, Teach felt depressed. If he had known this, he would never waste time here. Instead, he would take Ron and the wolf to find a place without people. But now, after knowing the situation, he actually said that he would directly stop it. The most important thing is that without the existence of dark fruit, he cannot seize it 100%. Although there are so many fruits, to be honest, it still depends on personal chance and probability. After all, Yizang didn't eat the devil fruit. If he was really reborn here, Teach didn't think he would be able to get it. Advertisement. At this moment, Ron's tightly closed eyes opened. At this moment, the aura around Ron began to rage. In an instant, Ron could clearly feel that all of his attributes had been increased tenfold at once. He was originally not as good as a kata general, but at this moment, he had completely stabilized his state and reached the level of a kata. Around the mid-term stage of Commodore. Okay. For a moment, Ron was overjoyed. The tenfold increase in all attributes directly stabilized his strength at the general level in a true sense. In addition, he has already awakened Conqueror's haki, and with his current abilities, he can fight even at the rear admiral level or even the vice admiral level. Thinking of this, Ron immediately opened the copy panel to view. Open black lens bracket Ron close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket age, 14 close black lens bracket. Strength. Commodore, midterm. Open black lens bracket devil fruit. Paramecia copy fruit close black lens bracket. With the ability to copy. Zone bird fruit phantom beast species phoenix form 41% Paramecia amplification fruit 18%. Number of copies. 0. Very good. It actually reached 18% all of a sudden. As long as I develop a little bit, it can reach 20%. At that time, I will be able to increase in all attributes by 10 times on the current basis. For a moment, the smile on Ron's face grew stronger. After all, this amplification fruit is worthy of being a top-level Paramecia fruit. With its existence, it will greatly improve oneself at this moment. It's a pity that the hungry wolf before was so unlucky. Although I don't know how far his development has reached, there is no doubt that the latter has insufficient use and understanding of the amplification fruit, otherwise he would not be so weak. The most important thing is, after reading the information about the amplification fruit, this amplification fruit can also be awakened. And once the amplification fruit is awakened, it will increase all his attributes 100 times in an instant. This is a 100-fold increase on the original basis. If he is in the Emperor's deputy stage and completes his awakening by then, he will definitely be close to the 4 Emperors. Ron, how's it going? The power of the amplification fruit is not weak. Seeing this situation, Nantai and Yi Zhang stepped forward. Looking at the smiling Ron, their faces also showed expressions of expectation and inquiry. Yes. After coming back to his senses, Ron explained, Teach is a 10-fold increase, and there is no difference from what Teach said. Why? And each time the 10-fold increase is based on the existing basis, in a sense it is not just 100 times, but hundreds of times, or even 1,000-fold improvement. It's a pity that this is just a copying ability. If it is a real devil fruit, then if someone eats a star-level powerhouse and develops it to ultimate, he might be able to become a 4 Emperors level powerhouse. Gouda. Upon hearing this, both Teach and Izo swallowed their saliva. Especially Yizhang, whose eyes are full of desire and yearning at this moment. Chapter 70 The Death of the Evil Wolf, rushing to the aid of Fosa. Advertisement. After all, he doesn't have devil fruit powers. Even before this, Izo had scorned devil fruit. As a sniper, he has his own pride just like a swordsman, and he does not want to destroy his pride by becoming an ability user. But after the battle with the evil wolf just now, Yizhang also understood that his pride was worthless in the face of strength. If his own strength is insufficient, he can only die with his so-called pride, or even become a sinner of the Whitebeard Pirates. After all, if the squad leader is not strong enough, how can he frighten the enemy and the rest of the foreign invaders? Although relying on Whitebeard's name is enough to scare everyone, it doesn't mean that they really have to rely on Whitebeard to cause trouble for their father. The main thing is that he knows the information of pure gold. Morgan said before that everyone was there when he said that he also wanted to get pure gold for Whitebeard, so that Whitebeard could live longer and regain his peak strength in a real sense. Is that so? Teach also raised his eyebrows, and his breathing became a little intense at this moment. He knows the amplification fruit and its capabilities. But I just thought that the 100-fold increase would be over. Even after awakening, the improvement would not last too long. But now after listening to Ron's story, Teach also found that he had underestimated the ability of this amplification fruit. It can even be said that it is at the same level as the shock fruit in a real sense, but it focuses in a different direction. At this moment, he even had the urge to eat it. It's a pity that he didn't get the dark fruit and couldn't guarantee that the amplification fruit would be reborn in front of him. Okay. At this time, Yizhang's voice resounded. Following the sound, it could be seen that he had raised his head, and the short gun in his hand was pointed directly at the hungry wolf on the ground, and he said in a cold voice, "Death to the evil wolf. I hope your abilities can stay and be used by me." The next second, the bullet shot out, directly piercing the wolf's head. Because he was in a coma and on the verge of death, the hungry wolf at this moment had no resistance at all and could not even say a word. And then the wolf died. At this moment, Ron, Teach and Izo were all speechless, staring at the few fruits on the ground with bright eyes. Especially Teach. At this moment, he was also subconsciously observing the fruit in his arms, expecting it to transform into devil fruit. However, the reality is also cruel. 5 minutes later, there were no changes to the fruits on the ground, including the fruits in Teach's arms. Failed. Too bad I didn't get it. For a moment, Yi Zhang said in disappointment. Not only him, but Teach and Ron were also disappointed at this moment. After all, once the amplification fruit is obtained, it will be able to help the Whitebeard Pirates create an Emperor's mate in a short period of time, and may even be a powerful 4 Emperors in the future. Thinking of this, Ron said, Captain Izo doesn't have to be like this. Although I didn't get the amplification fruit, Daddy has a lot of devil fruit. Whether it's the Susu fruit or the others, they are both extremely good choices. If you want to eat, I believe Dad will not refuse. As soon as these words came out, Teach also said, yes, Captain Yi Zhang's contribution over the years is more than enough in exchange for a devil fruit. It doesn't matter if you don't like those few. After all, we are at war with the Oaku pirates now. After annihilating those guys from the Oaku pirates, we can get the Oaku pirates treasure house, which will definitely contain devil fruit, and maybe there will be a powerful devil fruit. Advertisement. W. Hearing this, Yi Zhang's expression improved a little. Just as Ron and I said, although they didn't get this powerful amplification fruit, they could still get the second-class devil fruit. Good. Thinking of this, Yi Zhang immediately said, in this case, we won't waste time. Ron, you and Teach continue to act together. I'm going to help the others and annihilate the senior leaders of the Oaku pirates as quickly as possible. In this battle, victory must belong to our Whitebeard pirates. Good. Hearing this, both Ron nodded. After all, this matter is indeed not over yet, and they cannot delay for too long. To be honest, the number of deaths is rising every minute. Zero, please ask for flowers. Especially between Whitebeard and Oaku. At this moment, they were fighting in a real sense, which also caused the power they spread to become more and more intense. People in the pirate groups on both sides were also affected, and many people died directly. Then I'll leave first. Without hesitation, Zhang said a word, turned around and hurried towards an area. As Yi Zhang left, Ron and Teach also looked at each other at this moment. Ron, who are we going to rescue next? After pondering for a while, Teach asked. Have a look first. In this regard, Ron did not make a decision immediately. Instead, he jumped up and turned into a phoenix, flying into the air and starting to overlook the area. After a while, Ron locked onto an area. That's Fosa. It seems like he can't hold on anymore. After successfully locking the target, Ron returned to the ground in a flash and said, let's go, Teach. Let's go support Captain Fosa. I just saw that the guy the first was fighting against was very strong, and Captain Fosa couldn't hold on any longer. Good. Hearing this, Teach did not refuse. His purpose has been accomplished, and what needs to be done now is to focus on Ron. After all, to be honest, Ron still needs to take the lead in some of the next things. He doesn't want to expose too much. Under such circumstances, Ron and Saki quickly flew towards the area where Fosa was located. Along the way, they met many members of the Oaku pirates. But with the improvement of strength. But these guys can no longer pose a threat to Ron. With Shunpo combined with the sword drawing technique, many members of the main pirate group died in his hands. This also resulted in more people from the Whitebeard Pirates surviving, and Ron's favorability and recognition increased rapidly. Snow Leopard, you are really tough. After blocking the Snow Leopard's attack with a knife, Fosa looked a little tired. The most important thing is that the area around him is covered with frost at this moment, all formed after the frost freezes, which directly slows down his speed and even inhibits his strength and performance. Chapter 71 Fosa Crisis, Ronbi's Snow Leopard. Advertisement. Hearing this, Snow Leopard smiled coldly. The frost on the blade in his hand became thicker and thicker, and the surrounding temperature also dropped rapidly. He said with a cold expression, Fosa, give up. You are no longer my opponent now. You were no match for me back then. Even after joining Whitebeard's command for so many years, you still can't do anything to me. Having said this, the Snow Leopard raised his hand and launched a sudden attack. Freezing Ray. In an instant, an icy blue beam of light struck directly towards Fosa's body. This freezing light was extremely fast and fell on Fosa's body almost instantly. After opening his mouth, Fosa's expression changed drastically. Without any hesitation, the armament haki in his body began to flow out rapidly in an attempt to block the attack of the freezing light. But the reality is also cruel. The speed of the freezing ray, 560, was even faster, completely freezing it in place almost instantly. Armament haki even had no time to cover and distance himself. It's done. Seeing this scene, the corners of Snow Leopard's mouth rose. After successfully freezing this guy, now is his chance. Without any hesitation, he locked his eyes on the area where Fosa had not yet been covered by armament haki, and without hesitation raised the long knife in his hand to kill him. Lan Yan Fire Fist. At the critical moment, Ron's voice rang out. The next second, dark blue flames fell from the sky and attacked the snow leopard at high speed. This is. The scorching temperature hit, and the snow leopard couldn't help but frown. He could feel that the power of this force was not weak, and if it affected him, the consequences would be disastrous. His freezing ability cannot truly fight against the improved Lan Yan, and he has to give up the opportunity and possibility of killing Fosa at this moment. Quickly retreating, Snow Leopard looked at Tianchen. Phoenix. In an instant, Snow Leopard broke into a cold sweat. Marco. That is the strength of a royal deputy. And the Phoenix's flames ignored his freezing ray. After all, what he ate was Paramecia, not Logia's frozen fruit. Captain Fosa. At this time, a sound resounded. The figures of Ron and Teach had already appeared beside Fosa. Looking at the frozen figure, Ron directly let his own flame get closer. In an instant, the frozen frost began to melt at a speed visible to the naked eye. No, you're not Marco. At this moment, the snow leopard, who was about to escape, saw the person clearly. After seeing that the owner of the Phoenix Flame was not Marco, he couldn't help but widen his eyes and said in disbelief, "Impossible. How could you have the Phoenix fruit? Marco is still alive, how could you get exactly the same one?" At this moment, he was a little stunned. But most of them were angry after coming back to their senses. After all, since it's not Marco, it means that the latter doesn't need to be afraid. Even just now, he could have killed the servant by force. Even if he was hit by Lan Yan, he didn't think he would die. At most, he would only be slightly injured. Damn it. Who are you? Advertisement. When he thought of this, the murderous intention in Snow Leopard's heart became more intense. He gritted his teeth and looked at Ron and said, "How dare you lie to me? I will kill you. Freeze ray." As he spoke, the snow leopard raised his hand, and a ball of freezing light struck directly towards the area where Ron and the three of them were. Ridiculous. Ron disagreed with this. Although Snow Leopard's strength is not weak, in the final analysis it is only at the Vice Admiral level. In addition, his own devil fruit power is controlled by himself, so he really doesn't have much fear. Teach, I leave this to you. Captain Fosa. Almost instantly, Ron made a decision. Without any hesitation, he stepped forward, raised his hand and launched the attack. Lan Yan Fire Dragon. Hold head high. The roar of the dragon resounded, and Lan Yan turned into a huge fire dragon and sprang out at this moment. The next second, the fire dragon and the freezing light collided together. Sizzling. Sizzling. White mist filled the air, and the freezing light began to melt at a speed visible to the naked eye. At this moment, Ron's figure shook, and Shunpo quietly appeared in the area where the snow leopard was. Draw your sword and chop. Without any hesitation, the famous sword at his waist was unsheathed and struck at the snow leopard almost instantly. 0. Not good. When a crisis strikes, Snow Leopard senses the danger immediately. Without any hesitation, he quickly raised the knife in his hand to block, and at the same time, the armament haki on his body began to emerge rapidly. Fire splattered and the two knives collided together. The powerful force spread around Ron and Snow Leopard, directly blowing away the dense fog around them. It's just that Ron doesn't look very good at this moment. Although there is a surprise attack, you can even choose the bottom by yourself. But Snow Leopard's strength cannot be underestimated, at least it is stronger than himself. This also resulted in him having no benefit at all in the event of a surprise attack, and could not even pose any major threat to him. Even a mere Commodore dares to make mistakes. At this time, Snow Leopard also noticed Ron's situation. For a moment, a look of disdain suddenly appeared on his face, and he murmured, "You dare to attack me with your little strength, you are simply asking for your own death." As he spoke, he suddenly waved the blade in his hand. With a clang, Ron's figure was directly shaken back a dozen meters. After his body stabilized, Ron looked a little weird. For no other reason, although he was knocked back, the situation at this moment was not a big problem. To put it bluntly, he didn't feel that there was any big gap between the two sides at this moment. What's the situation? This guy is a 5.7 vice admiral. Logically speaking, he shouldn't have only this power. Or is this guy spending too much energy in the battle with Fosa? Whispering inwardly, Ron put away his famous sword. Although the famous sword is good, under the current situation, if everyone is armed and protected, the attack of the famous sword will be ineffective. After all, he is not a swordsman, and he has not mastered the secret of cutting iron, so he cannot pose a threat to the guy with armament haki. But without the famous sword, Ron still has his own physical skills and physical body. The most important thing is that his armed color can also cover his arms to attack. Armed color open. Without any hesitation, Ron activated his weapon color directly. In an instant, his hands were covered in armed colors, his eyes were locked on Snow Leopard, and he said with full fighting spirit, "Snow Leopard, come and fight." Chapter 72A Head on Fight, Fosa's Gratitude. Advertisement. After saying that, Ron took a step forward. Shunpo. In an instant, his figure appeared again where the Snow Leopard was, and his fists attacked the opponent without hesitation. Even a mere ant dares to make mistakes. Commodore's brat, you think I can lose to you? Seeing this situation, Snow Leopard became angry. The gap between the two is so huge that they are completely different. He originally thought that the opponent would give up after seeing the gap, but he never expected that this guy Ron would dare to come out and make trouble with him. Without any hesitation, Leopard waved the famous sword in his hand and attacked Ron. Lan Yan Dragon Claw. Lan Yan Dragon Fist. But at this moment, Ron had no intention of backing down. John Wentz immediately locked onto the trajectory of the attack. He raised a claw with his left hand and grabbed the famous knife that came from the attack. Because it was covered with armament haki, the Snow Leopard's attack really didn't break the defense. Even the scorching Lan Yan burned it, which directly caused the Snow Leopard's ability 20 to be restrained and unable to be used. At this moment, Ron's attack followed him. His right hand punched the Snow Leopard hard on the chest. Even though he was protected by the armor, a large amount of sparks still flew up and covered the Snow Leopard's body. Ah! For a moment, the Snow Leopard's screams resounded. It can be clearly seen that the areas contaminated by Lan Yan have been directly burned, and even the flesh and blood have been blurred, exuding a faint aroma of barbecue. Damn you brat! You've gone too far. At this moment, the Snow Leopard completely went berserk. I never expected that such a guy who was not looked down upon by me would suddenly exert such power and even hurt myself. This is a crime that deserves death. For a moment, he couldn't care about anything else. He immediately abandoned the famous sword in his hand, clenched his fists with powerful weapons and attacked Ron, with a determined attitude. Well done. Seeing this situation, Ron was not afraid at all. Even at this moment, he was still extremely excited. Facing the attacking fists, he showed no intention to dodge, and directly faced them head-on with his body. At the same time, his own fists continued to hit the Snow Leopard. Bang bang bang. Bang bang bang. In an instant, Ron and Snow Leopard were fighting together. As the battle lasted longer and longer, the injuries on both sides continued to worsen. It's just that Ron's body has the healing fire of the Phoenix, and his injuries seem serious, but in fact he is recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. It's a Snow Leopard instead. As a mere Paramecia devil fruit, he has no such ability to repair himself. Even if Ron's strength is not as good as him, the fist-carrying armament haki can still cause damage in a real sense, and Shen can still cause extremely strong and fatal damage. Click. At this moment, a broken sound sounded. Following the sound, it can be seen that the ice on Fosa's body breaks. Advertisement. Although the freezing ability is good, it cannot be imprisoned for too long. For a moment, Fosa's face turned pale. After all, at that moment, he could clearly feel that he couldn't hold on anymore. If it weren't for Ron's interference, I'm afraid he would have died in the true sense just now. When he thought of this, a look of fear flashed in Fosa's eyes, and when he looked at Ron who was fighting the Snow Leopard not far away, a hint of gratitude flashed in his eyes. Immediately afterwards, Fosa raised the knife in his hand and was about to step forward again. Captain Fosa, wait a moment. Seeing this, Teach immediately stopped him. Ron is trying to become stronger, please don't disturb him. Based on Snow Leopard's current situation, his strength has been greatly reduced, and he is completely unable to cause fatal damage to him. Worker. In addition, his own abilities are also restrained by Ron, which also makes it impossible for this guy to do anything to Ron. Instead, he will become Ron's growth nutrients and stepping stone. Hearing this, Buddha couldn't help but be stunned. To be honest, he really didn't notice this. It can even be said that this incident was somewhat unexpected, making him feel a little unbelievable. But after seeing the situation on the field, he quickly calmed down from the disbelief in his heart. As Teach said, Ron does look embarrassed now, but in essence he doesn't have many flaws or scars. Even as the fighting continued, Ron's strength continued to grow stronger. Such head-to-head fighting directly caused Ron's physical strength and resistance to blows to increase rapidly. The most important thing is that all Snow Leopard attacks carry the power of Armament haki. This also resulted in his attacks being completely nourishing to Ron without being fatal, and even able to temper his Armament haki. It's really incredible. Subconsciously, Fosa spoke. Ron has actually grown to such an extent. This is incredible. How could he improve so much in such a short period of time? General level, this is a genuine general level. Having said this, Fosa's inner worries completely dissipated. 830 but more doubts arose in his heart, and he was eager to know the specific situation, so he also looked at where Teach was. Captain Fosa. Lei Fen didn't mean to explain more about this. After taking a look at the battle in the field, he immediately said, Ron can still hold on, and I will be watching from the side so there won't be any surprises. But Captain, your injury is also extremely serious. It's better to repair your injury as soon as possible, and at the end of the day, you need to restore your physical strength as soon as possible. After all, this battle is not over yet. We must help the others as soon as possible after we finish here. Hearing this, Fosa fell silent. Although his inner curiosity is great, Teach's words are not unreasonable. The most important thing is that this matter is indeed extremely important to him. The battle between the Whitebeard Pirates and the Oaku Pirates is not over yet, and he cannot just give up everything. I see. Taking a deep breath, Fosa didn't hesitate and said directly, this matter is settled like this. I'm starting to recover now and hope Ron can gain something. After saying that, he didn't hesitate and sat down cross-legged to start repairing his injuries and physical strength.